week's angst with the Doctor Who Detox Hour or two.
Well, hello. Merry Christmas to you all. Hope you all had a good one. God, it went fast. Upholding Christmas, I would never ask any panelist to cut short their precious family time at Christmas Day or Boxing Day. So today is the first appropriate day for us to broadcast, and I'm grateful for those who will participate now and at 6 p.m. this evening. And there is a difference between the two shows. So at the moment, we're going to do the verdict from the Detoxers, as you can see there. But there is a difference between this show and the one tonight, just so you know that it's not just a version of double dipping, so to speak. Okay, so the Detox, it will be a gut visceral reaction to the Christmas episode. But they may also mention the War Games in colour, the Master War Chief, the revelations there, the proms. They may mention the trailer for 2025 Season 2. So this is an interesting one. And of course, tonight at 6 p.m, live again with a different panel. So you get a lot more views. You get the full assessment and full breakdown, our full analysis, the way Sense for You do, where we've got our 3 criteria, our burning issues we will start the program with, and we will let rip. And our ratings watcher as well. And I've got a lot on the ratings. I'll mention some of it now, but tonight it's the full whack. Okay, and we will classify the story outstanding, good, in needing improvement, or in special measures, or as Colin Baker's doctor used to say, the knacker's yard. Okay, so tonight's show, 6 p.m, is not the same as this one in content either. So be aware of that, okay? This one is our verdict on a lot of things over Christmas, and I'm glad you've joined us. But tonight, full analysis, teacher style, I'll be on it tonight. So we are up to 1.18k. I mean, my Christmas present was a few people joined us. So please, if you've already subscribed, thank you very much. I'm always grateful. Please, you can still help, repost, advertise, word of mouth, spread the word. Please, please, please. That would be very nice, very nice. We also have ways of contacting us. We've also added Discord now. And one of the lads we've got on today, he's on Discord with us, but you can get us on X, really good, and sense3@gmail.com. They're always decent places to get us. And also the Sense for You has a Discord page now as well, where you can chat there. Now, we have been respectful of everybody's Christmas break, panelists and viewers alike. So avoided racing to stream and vent and desperately crave views. We produced a very tidy, meaty, funny Planet of the Daleks review with the puppet parody too. We have 2 stocking fillers as well, as you may have seen. Tales of the Turdis, Horror of Ron Rock. And we also had Plant of the Daleks. Did you see my fungoids? Those 2 lollies. Do you know, I'm off the scale, me. We're trying to get Robots of Death together, but that's going to be interesting. We've got a very interesting mask anyway. Robots of Death is Sunday. I'm still respecting the Christmas break. I'm not desperate for views. I'm not desperately craving to harvest the world and carpet bomb the schedules. I'm actually bothered that everybody has a Christmas break and we have some nice lightness as well. So Robots of Death, that's a nice Christmas treat on Sunday at 6 p.m. Okay. And then we're back to normal after that. So welcome, everybody. Merry Christmas. We'll see you all in the thread in a moment, but I need to get the gang on, don't I? And we've got a quartet today of Detoxers and a new lad with us. So here we go. Now, let me bring them on. So let me start with our good old friend, Dan. Good to see you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Brendan. Hello, gang. Yeah, it's been an exciting week. And Brendan, I even squeezed in watching Planet of the Daleks just so I could see what
Oh, well,
see your hot thing.
I know that was a sacrifice for you, especially to see the puppets. And we've even got puppets ready for our review of of our review of the Christmas episode when it went all Bethlehem.
Well,
This
I was
Jesus or
surprised.
Moses.
I was surprised you guys didn't cancel the Spiridons because they obviously have been slaughtering Muppets for their fur.
Well, exactly, Madge. He doesn't have this one. I mean, he hasn't got a voice yet. He'll soon have a voice. He hasn't got much hair. Look, bless him. Oh, he's just. But
Aw.
I don't know if he's Moses or Jesus, but he's still going to get the same disrespect. So, and Merry Christmas to Doug. Good to see you.
Oh, hello. I was waiting for my getting caught in the Time Eddie intro, so there we go. You caught me by surprise. Hello, Merry Humus, everybody. I've still got my Christmas shirt on.
My Time Eddie intro for you is stuck in the Time Eddie. There you go.
I'm wondering about that because, there's this is a different format. It's a sort of an upgrade, isn't it? So there's some differences. Perhaps the viewers don't know, but I've noticed some differences.
Yeah, you watch out for the gremlins. There'll be loads happen today. I mean, they're just sent to try me. It's Christmas. Why not make it hard for me?
Did Doug say that he's had an upgrade?
Is
Is this something you need to tell us?
Who? What?
You said you had an upgrade.
What? Oh, sorry. No, I said the format had an upgrade. No, my upgrade is hey, my eye's healing, so that's an upgrade. I don't look like I've been in a fight anymore, so that's a good upgrade for me.
Well, I'm going to say Merry Christmas to our fourth member of the quartet who's new to the Sensory.
Welcome.
He's not new to streaming, but he's new to us, and you'll have seen him in our thread as many others. But here he is, Rhoda, James. Hiya, good to see you.
Happy Christmas, everybody, or what's left of it.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Now, I'm aware that we've nearly had 8 minutes of our show, and I've got a judgment to make about the Christmas episode later on their timing, so I better not fall into the same trap. Because there are a few judgments to make. But just to get us going, because Detoxers, we are known for this. We are going to give our verdicts on the Christmas episode, but we also are Detoxers, and we are aware that Doctor Who fans can get quite stressed and full of angst, and so we need to release a little bit of that first. So I think it's important that we actually, by fairness, do this. Okay, so if I just my first gremlin is this one, and then I think we're okay again. So Marco Polo, let me just take you back. This is the one everybody wants you to do when it comes to war games in color and all the rest of it. Fine, go and find the Marco Polo, please. Lovely, lovely kind of sets and everything else. But it brings to mind to me that what I'm going to ask you all, lads, the most Christmassy non-Christmas story you would love to see again, just as a treat this afternoon before you watch the Sensory at 6 p.m. And I've got a choice. I mean, there's a choice here for you. The Abominable Snowmen, the Ice Warriors, the 10th Planet, the Seeds of Doom, of course, the Planet of the Daleks of the Ice Cano, Revelation of the Daleks, the Ribus Operation. Now, it's snow and all the rest of it. That's all I've gone for. I'm not listing the Christmas episodes that end up throwing Christmas at you. But what would you pick there, James, as a nice treat to get you all Christmassy, but without being Christmassy?
Probably the Ice Warriors, I think. I haven't seen Revelation. I think I've seen all the others. Ice Warriors is the one that stands out in my mind the most, I think.
Yes, especially that woman singing at the beginning, that ooh,
Yeah, I mean, like having a bit of a song and dance number. That's like kind of Christmassy, huh?
It was very icy. It was. Yeah, I know. And there's like a good feel to it. Doug, where would you go with? I know you like your Christmases, but of these non-Christmas stories,
I love Christmas. I'm a big fan of Seeds of Doom. Actually, it's one of my favourite Doctor Who episodes, and certainly one of my favourite Tom Baker episodes. So I would go Seeds of Doom, definitely.
especially the first 2 episodes where it was in the Antarctic. That was war.
Yeah, well, styrofoam Antarctic, yeah.
Yeah, and it's where the
Very
that's where the thriller really happened as well, actually, really. Dan, what would you pick?
Well, it's uncanny because in the last week I watched Reboss Operation and Planet of the Daleks on top of everything
Right,
else.
God.
So yeah, I've just been smashing it.
I mean, the Abominable Snowmen, you've got the animated version, which doesn't really hack it, does it really? Out of those, I have to say, do you know what? I feel overdue watching the 10th Planet again. I feel as I really, and it, you know, I do that moment again at the South Pole. I mean, the South Pole's a busy place where the Cybermen are first seen. I mean, I do think I want to go back to that. I know you end up in the base after that, but there's a great moment at the beginning in those snow-capped hills.
I really would like to see that one colorized. To be honest, it really does change the way you engage with the episode. You know, seeing the war games in color was a revelation in that respect, from my perspective.
Yeah. Now the gremlins might happen with this PowerPoint setup, but you know that the Detoxers also do our ups and downs of the week, and this is no unusual week for that. So I'll be asking them just very quickly their ups and downs of the Doctor Who week. If it is the Christmas episode as an up or down, we'll save a lot of their content for a few more minutes later. But there's been a lot of other stuff going on, so I'll ask them now about that. Yeah, so the gremlins seem to be okay there. Hallelujah. So, ups and downs of your Doctor Who week. So, Dan, if I started you off, I mean, you might have had gifts, for all I know.
Look, yeah, no, War Games was an up for me. Christmas episode, probably more down than an up. And I actually, I don't know if you know, but Confused Adipose dropped his big fan film that he's been making for, I believe, a couple of years now today. And yeah, it was man, a lot of work's gone into it. It's worth a watch.
So that's your synopsis.
That's enough.
Yeah. James, where would you go with this then? Ups and downs of your Doctor Who week.
Up it would definitely be because of this. I've broken my duck with Doctor Who. I ducked out halfway through the Jodie Whittaker era, so I haven't watched an episode for ages, and I'd even not been catching up on the older ones. So because of this, I've actually started watching Doctor Who again, so that's an up. And a down would be the ending of the Christmas episode, but I'm sure we'll get into that later.
We will. And so you've got to treat everybody this afternoon. You've got the Detoxers presenting in their usual way. And then James, of course, hasn't been watching this present era. So therefore,
it was my first duty episode, and I watched it 3 hours ago.
There you go. So this is fascinating. This is going to be really interesting to talk about. Lee Smith says the Up was the season 2 trailer. We will talk about the trailer today as well as other stuff. Doug, where would you want to go with your ups and downs of the Doctor Who week?
Gavin and Stacey was really good. Okay. Obviously, Dan has secret ways of watching the War Games because I don't have a VPN, but I did get to see quite a few clips from the War Games on a couple of sites, and I know there are some issues with the edit, so I can't speak to that. But by God, it's beautiful in its appearance, and they've done a fantastic job in the colorization. I'm not even against the regeneration of John Pertwee. I think that was done quite beautifully. So that was a definite up. The down. The Christmas special, I have to agree with the other guys. There's some ups and downs there, but I think I'm very much sitting on the fence about the Christmas special. Another up was, thanks to the wonder of YouTube, I managed to catch the proms. Somebody had
Yeah.
uploaded the whole thing, and I thought that was quite nice to watch. It was very nice. I had, obviously, Doctor Who hadn't been seen at the proms since the Matt Smith era, I believe. What was really lovely is watching all those little kids with their wide eyes looking at the monsters and stuff. I mean, you never get sick of that because it takes you back to when you were a kid, I guess.
I can't
So
doubt
that's
that.
me.
Yeah, and you've covered a few there. You've got the thing, but the war games. We've mentioned the colorization, the vivid colors. I mean, it was beautiful to see, and that's why we wanted it. I mean, just take a look at that. There's the team. You've got Mark Ayres there, Benjamin Cook, Rich Tipple, who does the colorization with Russell T Davies. I mean, there's the team. And if you talk about the actual upscaling of the quality and the colorization, I can't knock it. You've got fans like Phil Newman there. Wow, the War Games in Color is a beautifully produced, stunning colorization. It rattled along with pace, tension, and verve, and I loved how true the team were to Roger Cheveley's stunning set designs. Huge congratulations to you all. So there's one version of it. They had these model. I mean, this model, I'll be interested what anybody has to say about this in a minute, when you got all the war games and central lobby, so to speak. There's some more of the colorization. There's the little model, there's the little model planes, and there's Rich Tipple. He did the colorization. And just to show you a bit more of the colorization, there's the Cybermen invasion in color. Doesn't change much. The Yeti, the Quarks.
Yeah, that looked cool.
Yeah,
I've never seen a photo of a quark in color.
Yeah, and then they released these color palettes that they used on the characters, and it was just fascinating to see that the detail that they put into them. So my judgment of the war games is not about the talent and skill from these very, very clever people doing the colorization and the upscaling of the video quality. I was impressed with that. My issue is with other bits of it. So I think just before we do give our gut reaction and good verdict to the Christmas episode, has anybody got? I mean, I'll mention this first. I'll throw this in. You saw 4 new Who Doctors in.
Didn't like that.
Well, no, I mean, that's retconning, and retconning is always bad.
Yeah,
I'm okay with this. To me, this is like a special edition of the war game. So, I think I'm prepared to go with it for a bit of fun. I always thought that the cartoons were a bit naff anyway.
You're right, they
and
were.
I thought it was funny and I just wish they twisted the timing on Troughton's comment of, oh no, not that at all. His last line, they put it on Matt Smith. It would have been funny if it was on Jodie.
Yeah, there was
Absolutely.
one. They censored a line. He couldn't say too fat anymore.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah.
And okay, so you're not allowed to do fat shaming in 2024. That's a kindness. But there was something I've picked up in Stephen Moffat's script from the Christmas episode. Sorry,
is it though?
Well, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that they think they are being the greater, And as usual, I spot the inconsistencies because fat shaming's bad. They're telling us by taking that line out of the war games, although it was made in 1969. And the 2024 episode of the Christmas episode that we're going to be talking about in a moment, there's a line I will mention where I think Stephen Moffat, that's hardly progressive or clever. So we haven't moved on. It's just that certain people think they've moved on. For my pound of flesh, think that this is just how RTD, as the overseer of all this, is just starting to just impose his will on every era of Doctor Who in this. I don't know, it's starting to get a bit sinister to me because he's not allowing. Some fans said 2017 is my cutoff point. and I'm not watching it now, and that's allowed. It's a but he's not allowing them that freedom, because he's even going back and he's got his claws in Pyramids of Mars and Sutek, and now the War Games. And yeah, go on, James. Sorry.
Oh, I was just agreeing with you, really. It as an entire thing, going back and changing stuff from the past, and all these content warnings they're putting on older shows now if you try to stream them, that just really gets my hackles up. Like, if the history is so bad, then don't edit it, let us learn from it. And if it's not so bad, leave it alone.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I'm
not.
I'm not going to war over this, but as usual, it's just another crumb or clue in a greater picture where clearly there is something going on here. And I am a Doctor Who fan who's very up for upscaling, improving the classic episodes, tidying them up, finding them, the lot, and animations to fill in the gaps. But I don't think I was ever saying, oh yes, and while you're doing that, you can completely change how the show is presented. You can add
exactly. It needs to be done by people who love the show, not by people who want to impose their will on the show. Very much like the Tomb Raider and Soul Reaver remasters that have come out over the last year or two.
Yes,
I mean, in terms
I know
of
that's a bit of a tangent. Sorry.
In terms of the War Games in color, though, like I didn't feel like anything that they were doing was done with ill will, and it felt like fans would do this or have done this. It didn't. I didn't get any vibes that any of the decisions were done in a particularly nasty or, we're going to get these fans and piss them off. I think there's a lot of people that had the War Chief as, in their head canon as possibly being the master. It was fun to play with that concept because obviously it was ahead of its time. And I mean, these things, what do these things do other than, what do you think they should have put a classic Doctor in there or something just to?
Well, I found it. Look. Okay, you're saying they just seem to be just innocently playing with Doctor Who, but it's interesting. There's no Colin Baker. There's no Peter Davison. There's no, hello. It just happens to be New Who. Yeah.
Maybe it's something about their contracts in New Who that allows them to use their image or something.
Yes. Well, you mentioned the War Chief, who's now the Master. If you want to fall into this, then now, Dan, you were saying there, well, they're just playing like fans do, and they've decided that one version of the War Chief is he could be the Master. You heard the regeneration sound effect. He didn't die, therefore he does in the book, and he does in the script. I thought it was a great performance for the War Chief, and he stands in his own right.
He does.
I just don't know why. And what? Because he's got facial hair, he must be Roger Delgado. I mean, do me a favor. Look, I find this the bit that was unnecessary completely. You've got other fans there. He has his own stream, Matthew Toffolo. Yeah, the Master stuff was the straw that broke. Yeah. The straw that broke the camel's back for me. This was an interesting debate that was going on. You've got Philip Morris, who's obviously, found episodes like Web of Fear and Enemy of the World, saying it's a matter Terrance Dicks always insisted the War Chief was not the Master. He even wrote a new adventures novel proving it. So this is totally disrespectful. Now, I've talked to Michael Herbert, the Malcolm Hulke biographer. This is not in the game. You have taken other people's work and imprinted something that they did not want.
But texts get their own life once they're created, and there are lots of fans that attribute that in their head canon as he could be. There's nothing that's in on screen which is what is canon, not an audio adventure or a text or a novel or whatever. What's on screen, it could be either way, and I don't think it's disrespectful. I think it's I
Don't
think
you-
it's fun, and for young fans or new fans, look, you got 61 years of Doctor Who. Like, how fun is it to pick up an old episode and make those connections?
Yeah, but you
It's a
make
real
it.
treat.
But that's not like me picking up a Charles Dickens script. Oh, Charles Dickens is dead now, so I can do what I want to it. And my adaptation, darling, is going to have Ebenezer Scrooge, and he was dropped on his head when he was a baby, and his dad, abused him. So this is why he's like this. No, that was not in the script. That is not the story. That is not the character. If you want to write that, you write your own blooming show.
So where's
Yeah.
the line there, Brendan? Because I mean, it wasn't in color, so should we not colorize it?
The colorization argument I buy into, Dan, because the colorization for some people apparently it makes it more broadcastable or presentable to the 2024 niceties. And I'm all for Doctor Who being seen by more people.
But then you've got commercial decisions and commercial realities, and you've got the reality is that the amount of work that goes into colorizing, they have to come up with an edit because they just can't afford to spend the money on it at the moment to get it to that quality.
Process.
So,
Yeah.
so Doug,
So the minute you've got to edit, you've got to redo the score. You've got to make you've got to start playing with it by necessity. So it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, tricky.
Doug, where do you stand on this, Doug? Because you can see that me and Dan disagree.
I'm sort of listening very carefully. And this is tricky for me because I haven't seen the War Games, and I was going to ask Dan what his view on regards to the edit, if he felt maybe the guts of the story was maintained. As far as your question, Brendan, I'm okay with changes as long as we have the originals. The master theme, personally, I preferred if it was more ambiguous, but it didn't upset me. My problem will be, and I guess I'm only going to watch it when I buy the Blu-ray, and I'm just wondering, Dan, you've watched it. Did you feel the guts of the story was there, or did you feel they cut too much out? Because you've recently seen the full one too.
Look, I thought it was watchable, and I thought that they did a reasonable job. I would have liked a little bit more at the beginning, where they kind of remember in the War Games, they jumped the first episode. It takes you a while to realize something's wrong with the World War I setting. It's not immediately obvious. There's a little bit more mystery. I feel like in this one we're jumping, like they basically jump straight into getting captured, and then they basically cut out a whole bunch of stuff and get straight to the court-martial. And for me, that you don't get that mysterious build-up that you do in the original.
But why don't the music came into play again, though, didn't it? Because the music became quite overbearing again.
Can I just say though, I watched the original 10 episodes a couple of weeks ago, it just so that I had it fresh in my mind what the original was like, and there is a limited amount of score across the 10 episodes, and it's highly repetitive, and it is when you binge watch it, it's quite it's quite over the top, the amount of repetitive theme, which Marquez has done, I think, a good job of keeping it, but actually bringing it down a notch and just making it.
Marquez is being asked to do as he's told. I understand that, and I'm not criticizing Marquez. These are all skilled people.
I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, these are all skilled people. The point is somebody is in charge of the edit button and somebody's in charge of the volume levels. And just like people used to criticize, I love Murray Gold's music, but Murray Gold's music in the first era of RTD was too loud. And sometimes was too much. Now, that's nothing against Murray Gold. It's just that's a choice by the director. And I think the same has happened in Daleks in colour, and the same has happened in the War Games in colour. There were moments when I thought, do you know, Patrick Troughton is acting his socks off. Episode 3, he plays it differently as if he's an inspector. And this is his last show, and he's acting like hell. And there's music going all right over it when
Yeah.
actually it doesn't in the original. Because I saw the War Games last week, and you think, hold on, there's moments when you should let the actors act, and there's no need. Patrick Troughton does not need music to add menace or thrill or anything, and I think that's just disrespect again. I'm sorry, and so no, I can see what you're saying, Dan. I just think some of the choices are just a bit too on it, too over it, too swamping it. You know, Marquez, tart the music up, please, so that it's not repetitive. Of course, he'll do that, and he's skillful. He'll do that, but then you just don't swamp every scene with it. That's all. James, did you see it?
I've seen like the old War Games. I haven't seen the colorized one yet. But the entire concept, it's like it was shot for low signs. Like, it was black and white, and trying to like add stuff in it doesn't make much sense to me. I can see the argument that it looks better on a screen when you've colorized it, but if they're cutting things out as well and running all over it with the music like that, I'm not even sure I want to watch it.
Yeah. Now, I tell you one thing I'm going to do in the next few weeks is I'm going to watch Terror of the Autons, just to confirm to myself that the way the Master was introduced was that the Doctor won't recognize him, the Doctor won't know him, and that, you know, you've got to be very careful. And I want to see that first reaction of John Pertwee's Doctor with Roger Delgado's Master. And of course, Barry Letts, who was running the show then and was so responsible, he was brought back to keep an eye on JNT with season 18? You know, let's just remember here, folks, Barry Letts, great producer of Doctor Who, with a great script editor and writer for Doctor Who, Terrance Dicks. They sat down and they invented the Master, their Moriarty to the Doctor Sherlock Holmes. And they weren't ever in any of their discussions. Anybody out there, you tell me an interview where Terrance Dicks or Barry Letts said, we thought when we saw the War Master that, the War Chief, that he was the sorry. This is fans playing with something they don't own. And here's my question to Dan, Doug, and James here and the thread. If there's a new episode of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire quiz show, and the question is, when did the Master first appear in Doctor Who? Now, you've got a quandary here, because if I'm a Doctor Who fan who knows everything that's been made, I'm going, well, it should be Terror of the Autons. However, we've now got some clever dicks who've put him into the blooming War Games. So what's my answer for £1 million?
Okay, well, for a start, I think we're overblowing this. For people that haven't seen it, the only thing they don't, it's not like they come out and say this is definitively the Master.
It's just the music, isn't it?
They just play the Master Vainglorious music at the point that the Doctor and he lock eyes, and and they recognize that each other are Time Lords.
So why didn't they play the Rani music, or why didn't they play?
Well, to be fair though, they were playing the Voyage of the Dare music in this week's Christmas special.
Yes.
So I think this is symptomatic of the whole current era. Is for what was supposed to be a new start, we seem to be recycling a hell of a lot of things at the moment. In this case, I think we've recycled stuff in this one. But you know, I think it's reasonable if someone, when you see the War Master on screen, someone who's an Ainley Master or a Delgado Master fan is going to immediately go, "Ooh, is that the Master?" That's a reasonable reaction, especially when he's the Time Lord.
However,
and to be fair, Brendan, in Terror of the Autons, this supports the headcanon here. The Time Lords come to Earth and actually tip the Doctor off and say, the High Council actually thought that you needed to know that he was here. So he doesn't actually just recognize the Master. He actually gets told by the Time Lords that the Master's here for his own protection.
No, but that's what I mean. But that doesn't change the headcanon. That just shows you that because they wouldn't have to tip him off, because he'd recognize him from the War Games if he was the Master.
But he's dead.
Well, except he's not dead, because they played the regeneration dead. You see, I mean, gosh, Doug, all they were doing, it was dead innocent, is every time the war chief appeared, every time he appeared, they were playing the music from Sound of the Drums, and John Sims, and some Roger Delgado music touches. Gosh, why would they be doing that if he's not meant to be? I mean, hello.
I know why they did it. Because people like us are going to be talking about it and giving them more air.
Yeah, they're prodding us with a stick.
Or really about this. Yeah,
or some new fans might pick it up and have a look at it based on.
Yeah, I think there was a commercial decision made and maybe a bit of cheekiness. To be honest, I'm going to buy the Blu-ray. I'm looking forward to it. I don't have a problem with some black and white things being colorized, and this is going to sound awful, but shows like Doctor Who, they were shot on videotape, and they were shot maybe without too much creative thought put into the lighting and stuff. But if you're talking about classics like, say, Citizen Kane or some of the really old movies from the black and white era, they were lit carefully and beautifully to the point where they were meant to enhance the black and white. So colour does tend to bastardize them. But something like Doctor Who being colorized, I don't really have a problem with if it's done well. And as I said, from what I've seen, it's been done beautifully. And this picture here, I have no idea how they did this. I mean, they've obviously superimposed his head over Patrick Troughton's old uniform, and obviously used parts of the regeneration from that guy, I've forgotten his name, who has the website, the YouTube channel. It was cut together beautifully. It made more sense. I mean, I even remember as a kid, because the War Games is one of my favourite shows. I mean, I'm obviously old enough. I saw it when it was transmitted, and the idea of Patrick Troughton spinning off into the nether, and then the spearhead from space, he like stumbles out of the TARDIS. How did that work? And what they sort of did here for me was kind of made it make a little bit more sense, I thought. So I actually don't have a problem with this particular part of it.
And remember, at the time, the context of the end of the War Games was it was in danger of being very much like the end of the Jodie era with a fade to black.
Exactly.
So this kind of just massages that back, and it also, I would have thought there'd be a lot of fans that would be sighing a relief that it doesn't open the door to the Council of State Doctor coming in at this point in time either.
Well, my heart was in my mouth, and I'm watching my favourite programme. I'm watching Doctor Who. I'm watching a classic, so I should feel safe. And when we come to there isn't a regeneration scene in War Games, but when I knew we were heading for one, because they've decided to give me one, I was then quite on high alert. And I was not enjoying that period of watching it because my heart was in my mouth and I thought, are they going to go there? Because, well, Dan, you're making them sound as though they're doing all these innocent decisions. Look at all the decisions they've made, and they have tried to trigger the fans.
I disagree with that. And then mainly, and I say that off the back of the conversations that Dwayne and I had with one of the colorists that we spoken to about how they sort of did this. The edits happened over 2 years ago because it's the colorists have been left to spend the last 2 years. It's literally taken them that long. This stuff was all commissioned back when RTD and Bad Wolf kind of took over. So like a lot of this stuff's been from day dot of the Hooniverse, I'd suggest. And back then they hadn't pissed off the fans then, and everyone, remember, back then liked RTD. So, in that context, I don't think they're out to upset everyone. I don't think so either. Unfortunately, the last 12 months, literally the last 12 months, RTD's managed to burn the fan base and light up his torch his own legacy.
I do not understand why the war chief has to be the master. Just like the Rani doesn't have to be Romana.
It doesn't have to be Romana
on a bad day.
It's what you bring to it. You don't have to say it's the one.
But they neither did they.
Yeah, but it's still ambiguous. It's just
not
a bit
ambiguous
of fun.
It's not ambiguous at all. They used all the master music for every master iteration only when he was on screen, and they had the regeneration sound effect when he was supposed to be dead, because the two writers who are now dead.
Well, he was a Time Lord, so it's reasonable that they regenerate
The
him.
two I tell you what, if we're Doctor Who fans, what are we of? Fans of just the character? Are we fans of the writers and fans of the producers, the people who actually made the blooming program? I'm a fan of Terrance Dicks and I'm a fan of Malcolm Hulke, and I don't like their work being changed.
Look, and I would suggest that, you know, if that's the case, you know, the commercial reality is you're not going to have a colorized one. And at the end of the day, my view is we've got 90 minutes of frames colorized. They literally it took them a day to get 3 seconds of footage. You know, maybe with the Blu-ray release of the season, they can have a crack at coloring some more of it. But get it closer to the original.
This is what I was saying, James, to my partner. We were saying about this. I said, this is the unfairness of how it's done nowadays. The colorization of the war games, fine. I'm up for that. I was looking forward to it. But they didn't just do that. They did other stuff. So in other words, as Dan's saying there, well, I don't have to watch it. But if I do, I have to absorb their editorial changes that I disagree with. I'm not allowed to enjoy Doctor Who in colour. I have to take in all these other changes. This is why I think it's unfair, James.
Yeah, just well, it's spoon feeding. It's just people's egos getting out of control, and it's like, bear with me, taking a digital camera to Monet's gardens and taking a load of photos, putting them up and saying you should be looking at this and not looking at the Impressionist paintings.
Yeah, it is change. Look, if we either do respect people's work or we don't. I do know in the West End and in various places around the world, you know that the lovies and the creatives like to take a Shakespeare or a Dickens or Jane Austen or something, and they go, we're going to show it in a different way. We'll put it in Jamaica, or we'll do this, or we'll do that. They always do a different interpretation, and they've been allowed to do it for years because they are creatives. You could argue they're just imposing their own blooming ego on a performance and not respecting the original. I'm an English teacher. The context is everything. And I just think, you know, hello. Do you know, if I created something and when I'm gone, somebody butchers it and changes it, even with good intent, what's the blooming point of making it in the first place? Because it's last man standing. Whoever's alive last gets the last word. Not sure about that at all. And then when all these lovies talk about, you know, respect and kindness, how is this kind to the script of two people who did their bit for Doctor Who? It's beyond me. Absolutely beyond me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it lives on and it gets some more airtime. And right now, this year, it's the War Games is out of the archives and in front of audiences. So, you know, is it the original? But I mean, look,
they haven't butchered the original. They've left the original.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like we're saying let's wipe the masters and get rid of the 10 black and white episodes. But I mean, look at the work, the money, and the time that's been spent getting even just the black and white. I mean, the recovered original episodes, if they were shown today, no one would want to watch them.
Exactly.
The amount of restoration that's gone into the black and white over the years is huge. I mean, they're probably now at a point I could see in the next 5 or 10 years the work that they've done with the colorization would have to be able to be fed in with AI, I would imagine, to get it the rest of the way.
Now, to be fair, my thumbnail did argue the toss that we are given the gut verdict to the Christmas episode. It's just that was our that was just our kind of review of the week in Doctor Who. It has been a busy week, but
man, we've wound up chat, man. I think they're
Yeah.
going to kill us.
Well, it's a good
I
chat.
love
And what we always say on the Sense for You is nobody's going away, nobody's cancelled. Me and Dan are good mates, and I enjoy the debate. And it's
I'm
better
never
than
talking to you again, Brendan. Never again.
it's better than us all agreeing as well. I have to say, isn't it? I mean, the whole point is
It's more
because
fun.
as Dan pushes back on me, so I push back on him, and you get some interesting comments. And that's all it is. And I'm sure.
Well, I was texting Dwayne this afternoon. He apologized for not being here, but he's saying that we should definitely. This was so good. The color war games in color. We should wipe the black and white masters and just have this as the definitive version.
I'm not listening. I'm not listening.
You're on fire tonight, Dan. You are on fire.
I'm going to put. I'm sorry. I'm going to call him out now. Here we go. That was toxic. No. So, right. Okay. So today, it is our verdict on Joy to the World, and we've been making you wait. I apologize for that, but it's all been Doctor Who talk, and it's not as if there's only one thing on our heads at the moment. But yes, the verdict from our detox panel on Joy to the World, and remember tonight the full assessment when we really do give it a hell of a grade, and burning issues, ratings, watch of the lot. So 6 p.m. tonight for that one. But now I'm going to go around the panel and I'm going to ask them that tentative question early doors about their gut reaction to the Christmas episode. Now, Doug, I'm coming to you. You love Christmas. You think I'm the Grinch.
I do. You are the Grinch.
The thread might ambush you. No. So, Doug, the thread are with me. I am protected by the thread. No. So go on, Doug. What are your thoughts?
Okay. I got up this morning about 5 a.m. to watch the Christmas special. So full of Christmas spirit, although I watched it Boxing Day, so it was the day after Christmas. My first viewing, I actually quite enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, no pun intended, joy. I thought it was fun, lots of running around. I think I told you I kind of equated it to combining junk food with fine dining. Junk food's never going to sustain me, but I bloody love a good burger now and again. And to be honest, I probably won't ever watch this again. I've watched it 3 times because I knew we were going to talk about it. The second and third time, I started to pick holes in it. There were certainly some plot points. I've got to be honest, I'm not a Shooty fan. Shooty is not my doctor, probably never will be. That's my issue, I admit that. But I did think he was actually quite good. I think Stephen Moffat gave him some good dialogue to play with. I thought he handled it quite well. I won't go on too long, but I thought the character of Joy was a little bit wasted. I think it was a bit of stunt casting the lady from Derry Girls. I actually tended to connect more with the character of Anita. Although having said that, I found that section where he was stranded for a year kind of felt about a place with the rest of the show. And I guess in closing, and we're probably going to discuss it later, the ending was really on the nose for me. The Star of Bethlehem thing was so obvious. And the fact that Anita became one with the Starseed, I mean, they did it better in Voyage of the Damned, I thought. I'm probably coming from all over the place. First viewing, I enjoyed it. It was good fun, a bit of a laugh. Second and third viewings, as I often say, I'm not a critic, I'm a fan. I don't know, junk food. I enjoyed it. It was tasty, but then I, excuse my language, pooed it out, and I'll never think about it again.
Well, I was always told as a kid when we were learning how to talk to adults, what did they say? If you want to avoid a heated argument, never discuss religion, politics, or whether the toilet paper roll should go over or under.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Now, why is it that Stephen Moffat has suddenly decided, and this is what I mean, you mentioned the ending, and I'll ask the other 2 lads about everything, their overview first. It's just an overview first, but I did think, well, here we go. Religion and politics are in the show. Happy Christmas, everybody. Dan, what did you think when you saw it?
Yeah, again, it felt like it was 2 or 3 years old in terms of the tone of the politics. It just felt very outdated by what's happened in the last 6 months.
Mm.
I just I found Trevor to be annoying. I was so relieved when he when Joy got stuck in the hotel and he got to spend the year with Anita, because I found that part of the story probably the best bit. And to me,
Anita was lovely.
yeah, I just think that it would have made more sense to just have the whole thing based around the Sandringham Hotel and keep it a lot smaller. I just don't think the scale of it worked, the premise, it didn't work for me. And to be honest, I'm just tired of, the messaging that's just scattered through things. Like, there was at least 3 or 4 times where sexuality or and promiscuity or whatever it was, it just dropped into the dialogue. It just takes you right out of it. It's like, why is it there? It's just, the only reason it's there is a message.
Yeah, it's at 5:10 on Christmas Day, family time, settled time.
Rise.
Yeah, and you're talking about, like, a guy's talking to his wife about, or I assume it's his wife, about 2 women, and even just the way they keep having characters having odd conversations just to get the message across. It's like you're talking to a complete stranger, and you make an honest point about the fact that, is this a love letter with your boyfriend or your partner or whatever, and you get the Karen basically go, no, it's a girlfriend, and you're just like, okay, so what? But the point's there, and they made a point about it, and it's just weird because you wouldn't do that to a stranger anyway.
No, just like you wouldn't interrupt them and say, by the way, you've got the wrong pronoun.
Exactly. I mean, it's just not how life works. It's weird.
Nope.
And they, even the whole thing with Joy's reaction to the Silurian in the hotel room and the mansplaining shit, I just, oh my god, it was so cringe. Well, it's like you've literally got a lizard man.
Well, let's keep it moving, because there's so much to talk about, and I want to get everybody in and just fighting on it. So, James, your first overview of it.
No pressure.
It was quite poor. It wasn't as poor as I was expecting it to be, apart from the ending, which really, really angered me. But we can go into that in more detail later, I'm sure. I thought that Joy was very miscast. Just complete damsel in distress, and then suddenly the most important, like the impossible girl trope again.
Exactly.
Into everything, and really, really weak character. I agree that Anita was really good, and I would have been more interested in watching more of her and the Doctors together. Yeah, I mean, pretty much you guys have hit the nail on the head of what I thought of it.
James, my big question to you, which I think a lot of Doctor Who fans will be interested in, I'm certainly interested, is you've not seen a shooty episode. So your first comment was it wasn't as bad as you were expecting. So what were you expecting from a shooty episode, and where did it pleasantly surprise?
His acting was too over the top, but it wasn't as over the top as I thought it was going to be. One of the things that I've heard about is the way that he hasn't actually got his own proper, like, iconic outfit as the Doctor, but I think the one he had in this episode would work well as that. I really loved that leather trench jacket and the juxtaposition between, like, the modern half zip sweater with the braces, and that was actually quite doctory. I thought he looked the part, even if he didn't act the part.
What did you think, since you haven't seen? I'm always interested in this because you haven't seen, say, season 1, etc., and Last Christmas. Is there a change in? And I'm not feeding you. I'm interested. Do you see a change in the style of the program?
Yeah, it's kind of it's gone from being like, say, in the classic series, like cobbled together in a garden shed, and then through absolute people's love and passion, they've managed to make a good job out of it. And then like early RTD, like Revival, it's kind of bit overblown and they've kind of ignored the script a bit. Then early Moffat era, they really hit their stride, and then it started to tail off again. And now it's gone back to they're just throwing money out of it. They're just throwing money at it rather than throwing creativity at it, and it's just it's all mouth and no trousers.
Okay, so it's interesting, and obviously, right? Okay, let's take a few different things apart. I mean, we've all mentioned the ending, so can I just talk about the ending first? That would be simple,
Sure.
and then we'll shoot around from there. So, the ending itself, we had the Star of Bethlehem. It showed us Bethlehem 0001.
Yeah.
You saw the three wise men, you saw the camels and all the rest of it. I think it's a bit like Dan, the war games and the music. I joined the dots. And it seems to me that was a Star of Bethlehem. So, oh gosh, let's bring Christianity into this. So I'll see what we all think in a minute. I was brought up a Catholic. This is still supposed to be a Christian country. Stephen Moffat's interesting on faith. In some of his dialogue, I can boom, he looks as though he's taking it on. And certainly has a cynical view of it. That's allowed, but it's Christmas Day, for goodness sake. And then, yes, the Astrid Peth Voyage of the Damned repeat, where I will shine everywhere and forever. Now, I found this a bit problematic because I didn't like it. It's too sentimental and sickly for me. However, I am also aware that nearly every family has somebody who's died, and some people do buy a star and then name the star. And so there's an element where I'm thinking, I don't like really to criticize things like this, because I know it can be extremely personal. And people do this, that star. When people die, they refer to the skies and that. So there's that element that maybe Stephen Moffat's playing into a bit. But
yeah, one of the positive things that I would say is that, calling out all the stuff that happened in 2020 and people not being able to see their loved ones and go to the funerals, etc. Calling that out was very good. But I mean, the way that he did it in the end of the episode really angered me, because I thought it was very disrespectful to Christianity.
Well, there's two things here, politics and religion. I mean, we'll do the politics in a second, because that's another interesting one. This one is kind of political and a little bit kind of ethical. The mother, so that she's turned into a star, and then she grabs her mother to well, I don't know, make her into the star with her, so they're together forever, nice and twee and sugar coated.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
But she's euthanized her mother,
which I didn't like that at all.
I mean, there's an argument in Parliament coming up now in Britain about whether, like in Canada, you can euthanize. If you've got a terminal illness, and there's a big argument, and it gets complicated with pressure from families and all the rest of it. But what we've just had at 5:10 on Christmas Day is Stephen Moffat doing what we call the light touch, but the light touch is wading in, and he's made it look beautiful. That you can euthanize your mother. There you go. The mother wasn't asked her permission, but we're supposed to think it's nice because there was nice music and people were smiling. So that's nice. It's just, it wasn't her call to make. In Parliament, in the next few months, we'll be arguing about whether it's anybody's decision, including the person who's got the terminal illness. And here we have, it's a lovely, beautiful thing. I will euthanize you, mother. You're going to be with me now. I don't know. I think the whole thing was hocus pocus and a little bit too true and unnecessary again.
I agree with you. I think also, although I agree with James on the fact that it was good to bring it up, I also, because I know some people have been in the situation, it might have triggered a few people too that have lost people during COVID to bring it up in that way. And then I think to trivialize it by have it turn into fairy dust God knows what the nurses would have thought when they came to change the bed. There's this thing about Stephen Moffat. He doesn't like to let people actually die, does he? There's always a little way out where they can
Yes.
become a higher power or something,
Yes,
or get frozen in time or something.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's called being a coward as a writer, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, you build up the. Well, it's also it's a letdown because you dramatically build people up. I mean, Joy would have been a very interesting character as interesting as Anita if she was allowed to be lonely and have to deal with it. All this nonsense about, well, you could become a star. I mean, it seemed to me, if you really, really shortened the message, and I'm sure Stephen Moffat wasn't trying to do this, but you could argue this is the synopsis. You're very, very lonely. You can't find any friends, commit suicide, and you might be a nice star. It's like, what? It's nonsense. No. There's people out there. She did say to the doctor at the end, find a friend, so to speak. And there's always a friend out there, but don't think of being a star is the answer. No. So yes, now you did mention, James, the politics. And the politics I found interesting because it was clearly a dig at the Conservative government in Britain who imposed the rules, because they happened to be the government at the time. But I do recall the leader of the opposition, who's now our prime minister, wanted the rules even stricter. So basically, everybody in power agreed that that's how they were going to treat us all. So who was it a dig at? Because I find all the lovies have suddenly changed their minds now that what was important to do suddenly was a bad idea. I know there was the dig at Partygate, and I have to say, I was a teacher at the time, and when we went into school, all a metre apart, there was a day it was somebody's birthday, and we brought in some wine and some cake. We weren't partying, and I think there is a conflation of crap going on here, which I don't agree with, where they've suddenly said that in Downing Street there were parties and nightclubs going on. Calm down. No. Stephen Moffat's overplaying his hand to make a weak point, an unnecessary point at the end of a resolution of a drama on Christmas blooming Day.
Yeah. Well, as a society, we let it happen, and this isn't just in the UK. I mean, I had my grandmother's funeral was during just before, I think a week before the second lockdown, and we were I think this did drag up negative stuff for me, but at the same time I was like, why is this here? It just doesn't. It's a massive pull down for the episode.
That's what I thought,
and it is there just to stick it to the. But at the end of the day, we were all complicit in the damn thing, so we all let it happen. And a lot of these Karens that are now don't want to own the fact that they were all for it. I mean, I remember going for a walk one morning, and I had this old guy literally cross the road to have a go at me while I was walking to put a mask on, and I was literally in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
This is what society was at the time. It was, there were a lot of people for this crap.
Can I ask?
I've got some similar experience there as well. Sorry, Ben, go.
No, you carry on, James. Go on.
I was, well, I still am. I'm actually working in the same premises, but I'm working in retail, and I'm kind of like halfway between staff and management, because I used to be management before I stepped down, but I'm also in charge of staff training. So I'm kind of something of an authority figure, but not actually in charge. So one of my staff got called to open up a new checkout because we were busy, and she just walked down to open her checkout like normal, and somebody went crazy on her, saying that, oh no, you've walked too near to me. Like, this is someone who is waiting to be served on that checkout. Like, how is she supposed to get there? Is she supposed to go out the back door and come in through the front door of the store? It got a bit crazy for a few months there.
Yeah. Well, my other question about the Doctor Who episode, of course, as well. And look, I appreciate there's people in the thread, and as we've just been saying, the scene with the mother, which I think was meant to be a nice thing. I think dramatically that's what Stephen Moffat was trying to do, but it has actually reminded people of terrible moments in their own life. Lee Smith has mentioned it, and
I think it backfired.
Yeah, it's too close to the bone. It is for a lot of people.
Soon.
Yeah,
Too soon.
yeah. We know that there were elderly relatives in care homes, etc., maybe with Alzheimer's, etc., and how cruel it was that when you can't see them and interact with them, they regressed even faster. And so it was a cruel stealing of time. And you can't kind of lever that into a show in a you needed to do a play on it. You need to do a movie on it. You need to do something separate on it.
I agree. I
Certainly
agree
not shoehorn it
was a
into a
bit
Christmas special.
Yeah.
So that's a shame because it's our favorite program. I know it was probably done with good intent, but I think it landed badly.
I'm sure it was.
So my question next was regarding the Doctor Who episode. I found it interesting because there were different bits when I was engaged, then I wasn't. But one of the moments when I was losing it, and I was sat with my mum and dad at the time, my dad will watch some Doctor Who, depends. My mum, as you know, hates it. My dad walked out the room at a certain point during the Doctor Who episode. And I think it's the point that is my problem, which is, although Anita was a really standout character and she stood out, she was brilliant, well written, it was a soap. That bit was not sci-fi. That bit was boring because although it was a beautiful play between two characters having a chat and playing snakes and ladders, but it had nothing to do with a science fiction romp on Christmas Day. And
I agree.
And my dad walked out the room then. So in other words, it lost the engagement of people who were willing to watch it. And so
one of the few times I agree with you there, Brent. I thought Anita was really good, but I felt that whole sequence belonged in another episode. Also, it was unnecessary. Obviously, they've forgotten that David Tennant is living around the corner with a fully working TARDIS. It wasn't even necessary.
Exactly. Good point.
To be honest, though, from the moment we met Trevor, I was G'd up. I mean, his reaction to the TARDIS being a toilet, literally says police box on it. It makes no sense. Like, it was just,
I know
some of these characters are just dumb.
Well, that was the point. Can I just say, Dan, you've reminded me that was the point where we're not allowed to fat shame in the war games. But Stephen Moffat in 2024, I know he wrote this a year or so back, but he had the line that he gave to the Doctor to say to Trev, it may not be necessary to make your mind blank, Trev. Now, I know that's a joke, but we weren't allowed to have that joke in the war games about, oh no, too fat, too thin, too whatever. And so I find it really interesting what they think is acceptable. So it's not acceptable to fat shame, but it is acceptable to mock somebody who's not very bright. There you go.
Before we get too far away from the sequence with Anita, there was another thing that really, really annoyed me about that. And that was that it was Moffat repeating himself, like the Doctor in a domestic situation. Not the second time, the third time.
Yes.
Because there was the pond life and there was the stuff with James Corden's character. So it's the third time he's done exactly the same thing. And, you know, it's just lazy.
I agree. Oh, sorry.
Not only was it lazy, it was crap, because I can't remember the exact dialogue, but I think he referred to the fact that he wasn't used to this. He'd done it so many times, and even if you go back to the John Pertwee era, that was what he did. He was stranded. So it wasn't even anything particularly original, but I think they made mention of the fact that it was a new experience for him, new by whose standards. I don't get that. It was very lazy.
Yeah, no, I that was going to be my next question. Funny enough. It was James brought it up, the domestic element, because it's true. That was the bit where my dad got bored because it was Doctor Who being domestic.
That's right. It wasn't.
He was a plumber, And yes, there was a joke with the the Dalek
Very
sink
obvious.
plunger.
Yeah.
Yeah, is this armed? Oh God, I was laughing at, we were getting Christmas cracker jokes.
Like microwave being bigger on the inside.
Yeah,
Yes.
come on.
I mean that made me cringe as
The
well.
blue
Let's be
tar.
honest.
And so we've kind of mentioned it already that Nicola Coughlan, her part was a very strange part because she, in the end, she was possessed for most of the episode, and then for some reason grabbed the suitcase and wanted to become a star. So I would put her down as weird. Whereas the Anita character was just a lovely. Do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me, and I can't remember the character in Schitt's Creek if you saw it, because she was the one who ran the motel, and they all helped her out, and she was always a bit run down. And the Anita character just felt like that we were having touches of Jurassic Park. I mean, Stephen Moffat was touching Indiana Jones and everything, wasn't he? But I thought he was. Yeah, I thought he was touching Schitt's Creek slightly because her character Anita, yeah, and it was nice. It was nice to remind people on Christmas Day, people are working, all that lot. But the trouble is, I just want Doctor Who. The Time Hotel was a really good idea, as in it's a neat, quick idea. That's what I mean. All those people cosplaying.
Yeah, but again, the premise though of the Time Hotel needing to be utilized by Villengard,
yes,
to create a sentient AI briefcase with a look. I don't understand why any of that was needed. Why do you need any of that to create a star?
It was very contrived.
Yeah, it was. It was just this has to be the plot because I want the story to go this way. There's from a science fiction.
The concept was great, but the story
the science fiction premise was just completely.
It's just
stuffed.
Yeah. It's just. Yeah. I can only say my true gut verdict on things, on the type of sci-fi I like. When I used to watch Star Trek as a kid, I hated it. I personally hated the Star Trek episodes when they landed on Earth and it was kind of present day, or they went back to a certain era and Captain Kirk was getting his leg over and it was just boring. I wanted action. Action.
I like those.
And I wanted them to get their phaser on stun, and I wanted a Klingon coming around the corner. Now, look at that picture there. This is Doctor Who. No, sat on some gantry, just kind of having a cup of tea with, he's a caretaker and a plumber. This was boring as hell, and it's such a shame.
Yeah. Well, when you look at it in the context of the episode later, there's no payoff to it. I don't see what comes out of it. It is literally just burning up 10 minutes.
Okay, can someone please tell me how the hell he got that code that the whole thing was revolving around?
The whole point is this is Moffat being clever. It was a bootstrap paradox, and it's unsatisfying because then you can just say, well, the Doctor can use bootstrap paradox all over the place, but there's no rational reason why you need to spend a whole year there if it's a bootstrap paradox.
And again, it's Moffat repeating himself because he did that. I think it was Moffat who wrote The Curse of Fatal Death, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Time Crash. It's a trope that Moffat loves, the old bootstrap paradox, because it's convenient.
Can I ask? Because I'm a stickler for not wanting to be. I mean, we're all inconsistent in different ways when we're subjective, but I try not to be as much as possible. I, as a fan of Doctor Who, liked the clever little joke at the end of the Visitation with Peter Davison, when in the corner, when there was the fire caused by the pteroleptals, you saw it said Pudding Lane. And it was almost saying that the pteroleptals had caused the Great Fire of London in 1666. And I, as a Doctor Who fan, thought, I like that. I like the way they've woven it in. And in Attack of the Cybermen, they tried to do the same with Halley's Comet. Those bits I kind of liked in Doctor Who. So why are we so angry about when they do stuff now and they bring in, I suppose, COVID, and they bring in the Star of Bethlehem, and they bring in why? Because is that me being inconsistent?
No. Particularly with the Star of Bethlehem. I mean, if the show was to take on any other religion around the world and suggest that the thing that that religion is based on was made by something that happened in Doctor Who, they would be riots in the streets. But because it's one
You're
specific
absolutely right.
religion, it's
Mm.
fine.
Yes, yeah.
And
Absolutely right.
that is the point that I was like intending to make.
It's a good one to make, because the
Yeah,
bottom line that has to be sold, whatever job we're in or whatever we do in life and nowadays, is equality. And that's what we want to see, is equality. The trouble is, what we're seeing in lots of different ways is promotions of different things.
Yeah, what we're getting for is equality for some and not for others.
Yeah. And so your point about religion is well taken, because I'm not a churchgoer now, but I have a kind of Christian sentiment. And
Same.
and the point is, I like the celebration of Christmas, the general one and the commercial one, I'll be honest, but I don't like the fact that, mind you, Monty Python did it with The Life of Brian. We know that it's allowed.
Yeah, but that was direct parody. That was absolute comedy, and it was really well done.
Yes.
Do you know what, though? I was kind of hoping when they mentioned that there was some sort of, conflict at the end in the early reviews, I was thinking, I hope it is a sort of a Life of Brian type twist at the end, because, like I never found The Life of Brian offensive, but I know people that did. I found it funny. I was kind of hoping that if they were going to go that way, they might blend it into, say, the Life of Brian universe rather than the.
Well, you see, I was at Catholic school, Roman Catholic school, and they showed The Life of Brian one of the days, like the day before the school holidays. They put the video on. Now, this is in a Catholic school, and as you're saying, James, that doesn't happen with every religion, unfortunately, and that's where it's not fair. That the more kind of tolerant kind of I don't know, you can have a sense of humor about yourself. Religions seem to be easy pickings. Can I just mention this, though, because it's a very good point, and I don't want to forget it too long into this. Steve Zayas, good to see you. Very good point. This was another episode where the Doctor didn't save anyone. What's the point of it?
He was completely irrelevant.
Exactly.
And he cried too.
3 times.
3 times.
Oh, 3 times.
Three times?
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually. It was 3 times.
But the point about, look, I suppose if we analysed every classic Doctor Who, he doesn't necessarily always directly save everything. But the point is, we've got a run now where, he's there to enhance the companion. He's there to enhance the companion.
Well, it's true, though. If the Doctor didn't get involved, it would have played out exactly as it did. And
it wasn't one of the Indiana Jones films like that.
Joy would have still been in the star at the end, and nothing would have been different, really. So yeah,
I mean, Trev wouldn't have died, would he, if he hadn't been told he was on a secret mission from a patronising doctor who was taking a mick out of somebody who was obviously intellectually challenged. I have to say, the more you look at, people said, "Oh, I love the Machiavellian Doctor," and I think they're saying the bit when he was trying to get a rise out of Joy, when she was in the zone. I get that. That's a bit like Tom Baker's 4th Doctor with Sarah and Ark in Space, and he's trying to get a rise out.
With Ace.
Yeah. I'm getting that bit, So I can't be inconsistent. However, he was mocking Trev, and he was patronising him. I've watched it again this morning, and the way the Doctor talks to Trev, now we're on he over-labours it. I mean, I do feel as though it was cartoon Doctor Who. We're on a top secret, deadly mission. My name is Special Agent Clint Rock.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing I wanted to bring up. That's one of the things I wrote down. What on earth is wrong with John Smith? Why do we have to change things?
Oh, because Clint Rock sounds we've gone into joke mode. It's just joke after joke after joke. But I'm a special agent, Clint Rock. We're on a top secret, deadly, dangerous mission. I need to blank my mind before I go into an investigation. You don't. What the hell is this? It's patronizing, pap.
What was Trevor's job in the first place? I still don't know what he was doing there. And why would he notice the doctor? Like all the people in that foyer, I don't know why he latched onto the doctor not being the odd man out.
Concierge or something.
Yeah.
You know, if you go back to brass tacks, Stephen Moffat had this time hotel idea, and he planted the TARDIS in the lobby. So we had the toilet joke, and we had various sins. But now look, I counted. Can I just say everything, lads? Here, from the first second to 11 minutes, hardly anything happened. That's 20% of the program. So for 20% of the program, what you got was schmaltzy music. It wasn't my favorite. It was telling me it was light and jokey. So if you're a casual viewer tuning in thinking, right, this is my one time I'll watch Doctor Who per year. It's Christmas Day. Let's have a look. It was all very schmaltzy and light. Lots of jokes and nudges and winks. The trailer that we'd seen before and a casual viewer may have seen saw it all in its full iteration before the credits. So that was a waste of 4 minutes, 14 seconds of a repeat. Yeah. Now, I'm aware on this stream, I'm sure everybody is on their streams, that, you know, you're keeping an eye. You know, if everybody suddenly switched off, you'd have to study why the hell that happened. But maybe if you're arrogant, you don't need to bother with that. So for the first 4.5 minutes, it was a repeat. And it was all joke. So that trailer was, you know, ham and cheese toasty, run room. We've seen it all before. Nothing new. I'm a casual viewer. Do I like the look of this, or does this look stupid? Then we have the credits. Then we have a Silurian appearing, you know, which that's going to get every casual viewer excited. There was no jeopardy. The doctor was smiling in a dressing gown, obviously not scared. So, of course, casual viewer getting very, very excited now. Not.
With his clothes under the dressing gown. I thought that was weird.
So all I'm going to say is, and then you get the Clint Rock special agent, then all this stuff, this interplay with Trev, then you get the schmaltzy music for more, then you get the cosplaying people in the lobby, and then you get the joke about no room at the inn, and then this thing about why is there an extra door in hotel rooms? Well, Doctor, you're supposed to be bright. You know why? Because if I had money, I could actually open that door and actually buy the 2 rooms. But none of us have that money, mate. What is this? Honestly, it's just... He's trying to do Weeping Angels too, but it doesn't work because nobody asks that question. We all know what it is. It's just, you know, they can extend it out if you so need it. If you was a family, but hello, Stephen Moffat. It's not a mystery. It's not clever. So... I counted 11 minutes. It's a 54-minute episode. And for 11 minutes, nought happened. There was a man holding a suitcase. Whoopie-doo. Does that hold your attention?
You know what would have fixed this? If the War Chief Master turned up.
Or Daleks.
Yeah, Planet of the Daleks would have done it. So, Steve's...
we could have opened a time door to Spiridon.
Yes, I mean, and I'm trying not to go to the ratings too soon, Steve. I have got a breakdown, don't you worry, and I know every minute of what happened, and it is a killer. But yes, most of the 4.11 million came at the end when Wallace and Gromit was about to start. Agreed. There was 4 million odd at the very beginning of Doctor Who, trailing through from Strictly, and then Doctor Who dipped to 3.82 million. And it stayed around 3.8 for about 25 minutes. And then in the last 10 minutes, it added 1 million as they were getting ready for Wallace and Gromit. And by the way, Steve, I totally understand this. From Doctor Who finishing and 15 minutes later, Wallace and Gromit added 4.5 million.
Did they ever? Yeah.
So let's just say that again to all those people who say, oh, not another stream that slags off the ratings. Don't you understand the world's changed? Has it? So at 6 o'clock, only 4 million people could watch Doctor Who, and then suddenly 9 million are watching Wallace and Gromit 15 minutes later. Oh my God. So who's got it right and who's got it wrong?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think we all know the answer to that. I don't think the world is as different as they want to pretend. I think
No.
the only difference is that Doctor Who's not where it used to be.
It's not
And
a mentality
the thing is,
anymore.
I can still watch New Who where like old New Who, where the characters act like normal people and they have reactions that you can engage with, and you buy into the characters and you have hit the emotional beats that you actually the emotional beats are earned. All the emotional beats in this episode felt like the writer was telling you what you should be feeling right now. And that's what I resisted the whole way along. I just felt like, no, I don't feel like that. I don't like Joy. I don't like this character. I'm not finding the funny side of this. Anita's probably the Anita time period is probably the bit that I engage with the most. And then when that was over, to be honest, I did get up at one point and go to the loo.
Right. Well, let me just bring in the thread are doing what the thread do, and I'm trying to bring you in. I'm bringing you in, as you can see, but not actually saying some of the quotes. Gorvidal. It's almost like they're afraid of showing true emotion. Dan, you were kind of saying this. What we are getting is that was touching hugs instead of real pain, which is what makes good drama. We need real jeopardy. Now, one of my panelists who will be on tonight, Simon Anthony, I'm going to put this up because, Simon, people don't watch, because I made that comment about people not watching. I was reporting the facts. That's all I can do. People don't watch because shows like this, Senssphere, give it a bad press. No. Well, no. The thing is, Simon, all I was listing, and you'll see my breakdown tonight of every 5 minutes. I'm not in charge of the British public. The British public, after 10 minutes of Doctor Who, I was listing the first 11 minutes and saying not much happens. You can disagree with that. Of course you can. But I found it fascinating that the content in the first 10 minutes, whether you liked it or not, lost 1 million viewers.
Yeah.
That's not me. And that's not bad press. That's called facts.
Simon, we're calling out why it's not working. We're not making it not work by calling it out. That doesn't make any sense. I think
we've been quite even-handed, actually.
Yeah.
Well, we've said the standout of the episode was Anita. And to be quite honest, my cynicism is saying she'll be the season 3 companion, because that's how it works in Doctor Who. And actually, I would applaud it. I
would,
I have no problem with that. My problem is that I can't control my dad's legs, and my dad left the lounge when it got boring. What do I say? Dad, it's going to be good soon. No, I can't. The point is, people are voting with their feet and voting. Do you know what Doctor Who was up against on ITV? Bullseye. It was up against.
Darts.
Yes, it was up against a darts game show.
We can't beat dart.
Now, when I looked at the 5-minute breakdowns, it really broke down. The Doctor Who lost. It started with about 4 million, and then it went down to 3.82 million. It basically lost, and I've got the figures here. It lost about 400,000 views, 500,000 viewers, right? I've got the figures exactly in a minute. But it lost, I think it was 500,000. It lost 500,000 viewers in the first 10 minutes, and they all went to Bullseye. Now, I recall RTD1 saying in 2005, we have to go up against the ITV juggernaut, Anton Deck's Saturday Night Takeaway. It's all colour, it's all bright, it's all full of humour, and we've got to be bang, bang, bang. Well, actually, you look at the first 10 minutes of that Christmas episode. It's slow, it's repetitive, it's a bit smug with the... And if I'm wrong, Simon Anthony, then the viewers would have stayed. But they preferred to switch over to watch somebody throwing darts. That's all I'm saying. So it's a shame. I don't want my Doctor Who program dying. I mean, Doug, it's a shocker, isn't it?
I don't want it dying either. The thing that intrigued me was that there's just been, to a degree, justified comment that less people are watching terrestrial TV and that 4 million views is quite good. But then you've got 9 million for Wallace and Gromit, 12 million for Gavin and Stacey. So, to paraphrase the Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. You've just, I don't know what we're going to do. You just need to start appealing to the masses again, not just to the hardcore fans like us, who even we can't kind of slowly jumping ship. So I don't know what the solution is. Or
Doug,
just let it go.
I'm respecting the point you've just made, Doug, with this diagram. There's the views on BBC One on Christmas Day. Notice the two peaks, and the first peak of 9.38 million comes straight after Doctor Who, and then straight after Wallace and Gromit, it drops again to what I would argue in maths looks like a standard norm of any old rubbish gets around 4 million.
Yeah, anything that goes on the telly, you're right. Yeah, unless it's
that's the only logical.
The telly on in the background, sort of thing. Yeah.
Doctor Who mathematically doesn't stand out as saying it grabs extra viewers for BBC One. It doesn't lose them. It just gets the average. The King's
average person just turns the telly on out of habit.
Yeah. So the King got 5 million. Strictly got 4 on average. Doctor Who got 4.11. Then it jumped by 5 million. Now that you can't say that's a sneeze.
No, that's bloody good.
Then it drops down with EastEnders and Call the Midwife, and then it jumps 8 million for Gavin and Stacey. I'm sorry, but either terrestrial TV has died, but what the hell are those two peaks doing?
That's exactly right. This is going to be talked about for a long time to
That's
come.
what
I think
it is. Terrestrial TV's down.
Evaluating.
So you see, isn't the truth, if I was Russell T Davies and I was Bad Wolf and I was the BBC and Disney, we would all be saying, what did Gavin and Stacey do? And what did Wallace and Gromit do? Isn't that what the meeting should be saying?
Well, I would imagine that the next episode of Doctor Who will probably be set on Barry Island.
Well, the thing is, though, like if you were the BBC and you were making commercial decisions, you'd pull out 2 episodes of EastEnders for probably, like, I would imagine it's probably half the price, if not, a quarter of the price of a Doctor Who episode to make. Probably wouldn't even be in the same ballpark, but you'd have to say, well, EastEnders has got a better return on investment than Doctor Who would.
Now, one thing I did see, and Lee Smith is saying it here, I don't even know what this blooming Tiddler is. Tiddler wasn't far behind Doctor Who. And this is the worry that, that was the norm. Now, if you can see the breakdown, Gavin and Stacey and Wallace and Gromit just storm it. Tiddler's in 9th place. I think it's a tiny little kids show. 3.2 million. Yeah, 3.2 million. So Doctor Who isn't adding anything great shakes. Clearly, soaps are dying. And we've seen that for a while. In 2010, EastEnders was getting 12 million. They've died a death of soaps. Doctor Who has gone down from in 2016 and 2017 with Capaldi. Those years when Capaldi was the old Doctor and we've got to get rid of him. And oh my God, he got 5.7 million. And he got 5.7 million for both Christmas episodes. There was no fall. The fall happened with You Know Who. And they've stayed around 4 million with Jodie Whittaker and with Shooty. They've both stayed roughly around 4 million. And that's been the issue. But you can see there, terrestrial TV, if you still deliver the goods, you can get a massive crowd.
Absolutely.
So, and when you compare to season 1 and the Christmas specials last year, Doctor Who has lost 500,000 again. Now, the King's Speech went up from last year. EastEnders went up from last year. I've got a list of different programs. Call the Midwife went up. There's a lot of programs that in this dying market, their ratings went up this year. Doctor Who's fell by 500,000. So, come on, what is that just me? being negative? Or am I?
No.
I think I'm just talking statistics, actually. I don't think I'm talking about what my opinion is.
Just reporting fact,
Yep.
Yeah.
which is something that people don't like at the moment.
No, I know. This is the problem, isn't it? I mean, fact versus fiction. So, yes, I'm just reporting the facts because the facts are interesting. It doesn't appear that Disney is helping grow an audience for Doctor Who. That's the shocker. Might as well remain exclusive with BBC. Gore Vidal, I can see your
Man,
point.
I was googling, or not googling, when you looking on Disney Plus. Like they, even when you searched for it, they did not put that special
fine.
5 up. Yeah, they didn't put it up until the day they put it up.
I was about to say that. That's how they promoted it, the special number 5, and it was bloody hard to find.
Yeah,
They're not helping at all.
So, you know, you've got loads of notes there. You've talked about this episode, but there's a lot to say. What have we missed out that is really relevant about this episode? Because I don't want to lead people. I never like to lead on this channel, really. You know, I don't know. I didn't know the point of the Silurian. It was just like, is it just to kind of hint that there's going to be a spin-off with the Silurian in it?
No, it was just stunt casting again. It was just so people would talk about it. Didn't work, obviously. I mean, the thing that was really missing is there was no real villain. I mean,
No.
There was no villain or monster or anything that
No villain, no hero, no story.
No villain, no hero, just a faceless corporation. And
there was an element.
What was the point of the star, though? What was it for?
It was for the payoff at the end. That's all it was.
Yeah, so they could do the Bethlehem job. I bet they were patting themselves on the back about that ending, thinking, "Oh, we're pretty clever here. Everyone's going to love this."
I just saw the episode as a whole bunch of member berries that seem to be stuck together from Moffat, the Moffat era. And to me, it just highlights that after 20 years, I feel like RTD and Moffat, they need to pass the torch. And I think
I agree. And just before we move on from that, actually, but Simon, you're saying you look in different places for substantiation of my opinion. I've gone to Disney as well. You'll see Doctor Who wasn't a big hit on Christmas Day or Boxing Day. I've got the facts here. I look out facts. I don't know what they're going to prove to me, but Doctor Who it wasn't a hit on Disney, but other shows were. That's a question for whoever makes Doctor Who, surely. Because look, there you go. So yeah, I've got plenty of facts. But the facts
thing is, though, Brendan, we're not looking. I don't know what Simon's implying, or maybe he's just trying to stir things up. But we're not looking for reasons for the show to be bad or looking for reasons to fail. We love the show.
Exactly. We want it to get better. We want the show back.
Yeah.
I'll say something a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
Like I say, I had guests that stayed around longer than I was expecting, which were more than welcome to. But I went to watch it on Boxing Day, and it was at the front of BBC iPlayer. This morning, about 4 hours before the show, I finally had a chance to watch it, and it was not on the front page anymore. I had to go looking for it.
Interesting. It's like Disney.
Yeah, and the other thing was, I noticed, before Christmas, you different TV shows and news outlets they'll get a reviewer on suddenly, tell us about the Christmas Day schedules. And they all talked about Gavin and Stacey, and they all talked about Wallace and Gromit and one or two other things. They didn't, and it's not me. Sometimes even on the BBC, they did their highlights, the reviewer, but they didn't mention Doctor Who. Now that means Doctor Who was dipped in the national consciousness. It really has. There was nothing in that episode. The episode wasn't a game changer. The episode was a stocking filler. And this is where my concern is with season 1, that we've had a lot since Star Beast up to now. A lot of the episodes in the end, and I know you'll have a Dr. Light and everything, but there's been a lot of just inconsequential episodes.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It was also, I mean, obviously I don't live in England, but from my point of view, I noticed on shows like The One Show and all those kind of shows you have over there, there was an abundance of people from Gavin and Stacey and the people from Wallace and Gromit popping on the show to talk about it. I didn't see anybody representing Doctor Who. I know there was a bit of publicity beforehand quite a while ago, but during this time, which is the most important, where all those people were on every single show, unless I missed something, I don't think I saw anyone really out there promoting Doctor Who. Am I wrong?
Well, RTD did go on the one show. He was on with Stacey Solomon, who talks about how you tidy your cupboards.
It was a while ago, though, wasn't it? It wasn't I noticed a lot of the publicity for the shows that did really well. They were fresh in our mind. They were on there like even a week or a few days before Christmas.
And Nicola Coughlan was on the Graham Norton show.
Yeah,
but I do think I think they're being sensible. I think RTD has probably been advised he needs to be less prominent because he's partly seen as the problem. Now, Simon, we do have a show tonight at 6 o'clock that you're on. He says, if you like the program, point out the good bits, not just the bad bits.
I do have a few good bits that I've written down, if you want me to say them.
Well, I've just asked the lads. I'm not directing them. I've asked them, what else do we want to talk about regarding this episode? Because we've mentioned the resolution that we think didn't land. We've mentioned.
I liked it at the beginning. I mean, I equate the junk food. All right, look, the show looks good. The production design I thought was fabulous. On first viewing, it was a bit of fluff. Maybe in some ways we're tearing it apart too much, but it's only because we love the show. But I thought you could see where the money went. I mean, it wasn't a disaster. It wasn't.
But you see, I wasn't slagging it off because I said it was like a filler. It was just a episode. It wasn't a beginning or an end. It was just a.
So on screen, just while it's on screen, we've got Sir X-Man there talking about rushing the end of the new episodes with confusing endings that don't explain anything, which is again Moffat repeating himself, which is now leading to me repeating myself.
Yeah, well, and it is. Go on. What were you going to say, Dan?
No, I was just going to say these guys aren't slagging it off Simon. I am though. It's
oh god, you're on fire again.
No, I just honestly we're seeing this across this whole season. We were, the comeback was meant to be all brand new. We're season one, fresh start, and nothing's felt fresh. We're doing more those first 7 seasons of New Who it didn't look back at all, and nothing was recycled. It was fresh. This era is not fresh. It is clearly written by people that have been there, done that, and they've got nothing new to bring to the table. Give it to someone else.
I mean,
that's not a criticism, though. How many people have a good show in them? And these guys worked in TV factories, pumping out great shows. They've had more than their lifetime's fill of great TV work. You can't be expected to just do it forever. And 20 years is a long innings.
But the thing is, the Time Hotel was a neat trick, as we said. So that's you can put that in the positive. It's a neat trick. It's then how it's executed, and the execution was, why did we have 10 to 15 minutes with him just sat unplugging sinks and stuff? If you've got a Time Hotel, right? The war games, which we talked about, Clud, earlier on in our show, the war games, one episode you're in the American Civil War zone, the Roman, you could play with war zones for 50 episodes. You could have just done that forever, couldn't you? It was one of those. You've got a Time Hotel. It's the same thing. You could have gone to, you see right. I'm trying to be positive, but we were teased and they didn't deliver. When you saw the dinosaur, did that resolution work? Because didn't somebody just open the door behind them and they got away?
I think it was all just an excuse to put a dinosaur in for the special effects, and then they worked the plot around it. It just.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a very good hotel room when a T-Rex comes up and eats the residents in the in the hotel
No,
room.
I'd be complaining.
It wasn't a very good T-Rex either. It was like PS1 graphics.
Yeah. And then,
I
then
mean, it looked like the tech demo from before they released the PS1 in 1994.
They needed to get the guy who did the dinosaurs for Invasion of the Dinosaurs. That's what would have lifted that.
yeah,
that
you
part of
needed
the
the
episode.
Indeed.
Chewits monster. That's what you needed.
More
But-
glass puppets.
But I just thought, right, you're going to have a dinosaur. They've really made this. I mean, we are told as streamers, you make a thumbnail, and if you don't deliver on what you're promising on the thumbnail, you might let people down and they may not come back. They'll know when you're trying to just grift a vote. But when you see the dinosaur and they were sliding, it looked like in the trailer into its mouth. And then really the resolution was the door opened, and I'm gonna have to check that again. But basically, it was just an easy get out, and the dinosaur was just to kind of go, we can do this, So we've got Disney money. You see, Stephen Moffat, you have wasted. Did you see on Unleashed? They built the Orient Express set. They built these sets. Why? Because it was just a little romance about a lesbian writing to a girlfriend. What?
No.
Why are we doing this? What, for a joke about a platter of cheese and ham toasty? What a waste of money!
Mm.
Absolutely.
For a joke.
This is where not having money forces the writers to get to the point and be very focused on
Very
economy.
creative.
I feel like they're wasting the money on things that don't really make a difference to the episode.
I'm not hearing people in the thread saying too much demorping. The great, as in positive. The great thing about sci-fi is that it can address things like this allegorically. Yeah, this was too on the nose. In other words, it needs a redraft. As we say about a lot of stuff, it needs a redraft. It needs to be more subtle or nuanced. Julian Gabriel Clark, good to see you. This year's special was better than last year's. Well, I agree on that. I agree too. But there was no song and dance. Good.
Oh, I like the goblin dance.
but I was as Julian says, I was disappointed overall because I just thought, why would I want to watch it again? That's all. It's just, where's my payoff? What is my reason to watch that episode of Doctor Who? I mean, what do I learn? What to treat people who are intellectually challenged in a nice, patronizing manner, like Trev? That I can be a selfish little brat, and if I want to euthanize my mum, I can. That if I'm lonely, I commit suicide. What honestly is the message in this story that I take?
Yeah, it's like all that crap about the hotel room that you choose defines you. So crap.
How do you choose a hotel room? You get the
that
one
was so stupid. She literally just walked in to that room, not having seen it before. She didn't choose it. It was so stupid.
No. And there's actually
she literally turned up and said, "Do you have a room spare tonight?"
You've just made a very good point, this philosophical garbage that you get. I mean, sometimes Stephen Moffat is on the money, and I can be positive about Stephen Moffat because for a fact I've gone to town on the regeneration of Matt Smith's farewell speech. I thought it was very insightful, it was clever, and I've used it in assemblies. So I, of course, appreciate good English, but I need to see it. This dialogue was pap. As you say, Dan, by the way, a lot of us can't afford hotel rooms at the moment because they seem to be full of people. When you try and get a hotel room, sometimes they cost a bomb. And when you get in there, they are basic. Now, I'm sorry, I'm not made of money. I'm trying to work out, is Stephen Moffat making a joke about us plebs who, cost of living crisis?
Yeah, I thought, what's wrong with the hotel room? If you need a hotel room with no notice.
Obviously, I'm happy if it has a kettle. I mean, I need a kettle. I mean, I'm sorry.
Kettle and a hairdryer, that's all I need.
We had intellectual snobbery about Trev. Trev, obviously you won't have any problem emptying your brain. We have economic snobbery, which is, what does this hotel room say about you, Joy? And then good for her, she says the same back to him because he lived in that room for a year.
I think Moffat's also obsessed with turd. Like he honestly, he's always, obsessing about fear and feces ever since Curse of the Fatal Death.
Yeah.
All these toilet jokes.
Well, it gives Lee Smith a chance to remember one of my saloons when I talked about the Sutek character tossing time turds down the vortex. It just came out my head, that would it. But yeah, I don't know what this is. It's puerile humor. I have a sense of humor, but if when you're in company in a pub or something, and people, you want everyone to have a laugh. And sometimes the jokes are always just puerile. After a while, you'll make a judgment going, is that all you've got? Is that all you've got? Is there going to be a clever joke or a clever observation? I'm like I said, I've got no problem with puerile humor for a second, but if it's all night, it's tedious, it's flat. And you do judge the person, if they're an adult, about their maturity level. So yeah, but these people are running the TV show, and no doubt on fairly good money. So no, I when we watched Boom, and I'm sorry, James, if you haven't seen Boom, don't worry. I know you've heard about Boom, but in Boom, as you know, he stood on a landmine for just about the whole episode, the last Stephen Moffat one. And this episode, am I right? This Christmas episode, it seemed very still again, but he tried to trick us with him running on the Orient Express with a lasso for a moment, which just got the suitcase back, didn't it? And there wasn't much action, was there?
No, it was this whole like the hotel going into everything. Apart from when the trailer came out, I brought this up in your chat and we discussed it there. That being quite offensive because it's bloody hard to get a hotel room in this country at the moment. So apart from all that, it was like the Crystal Maze. It's like you go into one room and there's one game. You go into another room, there's another game. It's not Doctor Who, it's the Crystal Maze.
Yeah. Now this moment here was the only scene where I really kind of got into Doctor Who. It was when the man in the suitcase was in that bar. He disintegrated eventually. The poor Trev disintegrated, and not long after, the Silurian manager disintegrated. Now that felt Doctor Who to me. And actually the Murraygold music suddenly went from schmaltzy to darker. And suddenly I thought, you know what? 12 minutes into the program, here we go. And look at the set. It's darker. Somebody dying, alone, helpless. Suddenly I'm intrigued.
It was a tease that didn't pay off ultimately to anything interesting, because he's literally got this briefcase walking around slaughtering people for no apparent reason. Like, I still don't understand why all those people had to die or be turned into a star.
At last we had a death count, but the sadness was when you write that little silly interplay with Trev, and then Trev, who thought he was going to I don't want to let you down, Doctor. And that's cute. And I don't like this because it was manipulating somebody he knew was of a simpler intellect. That's how the joke went. So the Doctor was influencing and manipulating somebody, and he manipulated them into a situation that got them to die. He didn't know that was going to happen, and so he ultimately did let him down. I hated that. What a horrible setup. I felt sorry for him dying alone.
I didn't. He was pretty sad character.
But moreover to that, again, it's a character that is talking to the Doctor from beyond the grave that the Doctor was supposed to have saved or kept safe and didn't. And yet again, it's Moffat repeating himself. And yet again, that's myself repeating myself about Moffat repeating himself.
Yes. Yeah. Again, and this is what I mean. And in many ways, James, what you're doing is you're making the point, which is that these writers have had their time. I'm not seeing, apart from the time hotel concept, I'm not seeing anything clever going on, new. And I think it needs to be somebody else's turn.
I think I've figured out what Moffat's message is. It's to women. His message is to women, and it's to say that if you see men arguing with a lizard man don't
Ah.
snatch their briefcase.
Yeah, we had the man. Yes,
Oh, that's always good advice.
and we had
That's very good advice.
it was mansplaining again, didn't we? We had mansplaining.
Oh god, yeah, we had mansplaining as well.
Yeah, we had
I
mansplaining.
wrote
We
that
had
down, actually,
the
about that.
the LGBT. Remember, I'm gay. I've got to say that because people sometimes don't join the
Well, if you, in this case, Moffat's saying if you don't listen to the mansplaining, you get vaporized. So, you know, there's, I think there's some wisdom there that we can all live by.
And then we have a
You can all do it.
Silurian manager
Like that, yeah.
who the Doctor then was I mean, to be fair, he was almost sweet with the dying manager, but helpless. Our point that he doesn't save anyone, but he can be by your side. Look, I'll be honest with you. If the story is that COVID was cruel to relatives who had to be disconnected, and separated, and that point was landed at the end in a way. Throughout the episode, you could say some of the deaths were lonely, and then you had so Trevor's death was lonely. Then you had the Silurian manager's death. The Doctor was holding his hand almost and saying, think nice things, you've done well, which I think we all hoped for during COVID, that you could be with your dying relatives. I think you could say there's the message, but it was uncomfortable to watch nonetheless for Christmas Day, those bits.
Yeah, what's the name?
So no, wait. I mean, we're covering the episode here, and we're trying to read the tea leaves. But I wished Nicola Coughlan. Nothing against her. Wasn't. I wish she hadn't been in it, and this Anita character was just fleshed out even more.
Mm.
Um,
And to be honest, I would have preferred if they ditched the whole time hotel thing and just had something smaller scale inside the Sandringham Hotel. It just focused in on stuff, something going on in that one hotel.
yeah. Yeah. I'm
Because you
trying.
only had 45 minutes on this special. It was only a 45-minute special, so you know,
55 minutes.
50
was
yeah.
it?
Yeah, 54.
55 minutes.
It was 54, and the first 11 minutes. I'm being honest.
Maybe that's what it was. I looked at the time after the first 10 minutes.
yeah. When it actually started.
They did.
Fair point.
It's a real story. There's a lot of padding in this, wasn't there?
Yeah, it's a bit like
Hell of a lot of
I don't know if somebody's scheduling against me or something. If that was the case, you know, you just put your shows out. So they put the Doctor Who show out at the time they did. Little did they know that their first 11 to 12 minutes, not much happens. And on ITV, Bullseye seemed to attract the audience, and it started at that point. So there was a leaving point, and it was the point my dad left the room. So it is interesting, all that. However, there's more. So as I just get my act together, lads. In fact, what I shall do, I'll not trigger you in that way. There you go. There's the costumes. But we did have a glimmer of season 2. So let's get well. It's up to you whether you get excited or not. But let's just talk about the trailer for a moment. Yes, and please subscribe if you haven't. The marks out of 10, Lee Smith tonight. Oh my God, I've got all my marks in for my 6 panelists tonight. I've got all the marks, and we will judge whether it's outstanding in 3 criteria, good in 3 criteria, special measures or needs improvement. I've got the grades already. I know the answer from the Senssphere panel, and I know all their burning issues. It's going to be a very tasty one tonight. Now, you saw the trailer, did you, lads?
Yeah.
So I don't lead you. I might lead you on the structure and the format, but I don't lead your opinion. Dan, what did you think? Are you looking forward to season 2 from what you saw?
I forgot what you told me I had to say.
You're saying you're
No.
looking forward to Verada. No, go on.
Oh, that's right. No, well, I am looking forward to Verada, and I hope they don't make her a front. But everything I've seen, I don't think that's the case. So, oh God, I'm hoping for a good season 2. I really want. I must admit, I'm starting to feel myself not really interested in what Shooty's selling. To be honest, I've felt that he as an actor could do it, but I've just kind of felt the same with Jodie. But then I felt the direction and the writing just let her down. But I feel like we're going down a cul-de-sac here if we're not careful.
I think we're going into some interesting cosplay places which are bore me rigid. His hair grows depending on the episode. So we had that with Devil's Cord, and with this one here, you can see they're playing around with the afro hair look, which no Doctor before they did this kind of. Suddenly he's now got this enormous load of hair and it's all down on his shoulders and all this. I don't know why we can do that with this Doctor. Is there any reason why that I don't notice that suddenly his hair is completely different? He also is now wearing his kilts or dresses or skirts or whatever you want to call them. So your new look.
I think he's calling it a kilt.
Yeah.
So yeah, leaning into it more. I have a feeling the die was cast before they got any feedback on season 2.
Yes. So
it was already filmed at the same time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So none of the backlash against the previous series is going to make any difference. And I think they're going to drop the whole season in one hit and then either abandon it or start making new stuff and just like hope that drop is just seen as one episode and then they're reacting to the customer backlash because I mean let's be honest, let's say customer, not consumer, because we don't have to watch this. We choose whether we want to watch it or not.
Yeah, that's very true. And Demorpin, well, I can see Capaldi's hair went from buzz to fluff, to be fair. Yes, it grew over the series. I agree. Good point. I'm just saying from story to story. I mean, you could tell when Peter Davison had his hair cut, that was it. But they are deliberately playing around with this. And I'm trying to work out whether this is called, being proud of your roots and all the rest of it. Whereas, Patrick Troughton's hair didn't go onto his shoulder length for one episode for the hippie look and then went shorter again. It's interesting. I don't know why we have to do this. But you had Verada Sethu's character saying, I need to get back. I don't. You had this little thing when he strolls or swaggers into a hospital casualty area, it looks like, and he plays around with the computer and all the lights go off and he goes, oops. So maybe some humor. It's been missing that. There you go. It looks as though they're doing some pastel episode for Dot and Bubble. I don't know there. There's his 2 other interesting looks. There you go. You can have him in his kind of denim striped dress, or you can have him when he's grown his afro hair out. Then you've got Unit, and Ruby Sunday's back with a longer hairdo. So you can grow your hair. It's allowed in Doctor Who. It's timey-wimey. And everybody, as you know, on Twitter is saying, "Oh, the Daleks are back from this shot." What were you thinking, lads?
No. I don't think the Daleks are back.
Don't you think those UFOs are Dalek UFOs? Don't you think that looks a bit like...
I think we're meant to think they are, but I don't think they will be.
I don't think they've got the license for the Daleks.
Okay, so... So what was grabbing you? I'm just showing you the clips. You've got these big red robots. You had some Mavity stuff. You had that cartoon character coming out of the screen.
That grabbed me. I think that's got some potential if they really make it scary. I bet they won't. But I think if they make that actually could work. It's a good vision.
It'd be like a reverse version of Time Slides from a dwarf.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I was just interested in Verada Sethu.
I know you are.
Does that remind you of any character from the past or anything? I'm just trying to think. Is there any reference to this? Anything? I don't know this character. Is this a new character, cartoon character?
I think it's new because it looks like the love child of a Smurf and Miss Piggy.
I know
Yes, it
they're
has got.
basing it on those old animations, aren't they? Those old animations from the
Yeah.
30s and the 40s. Somebody, I was watching, might have been one of your competitors, saying that there's apparently a video game or something that's adapted this style that's become quite popular. I'm sure someone in the thread can tell me what it is.
Okay.
But to my eyes, it's a throwback to those old animations from the 30s and the 40s.
Oh, well, my
I think it
competitor.
works, though. It's quite
Well,
sinister.
as you know, all my competitors are all in the know. I'm definitely not in the know, and I don't seek out. They all know somebody special. It's all crap, isn't it? I know somebody who says that Disney's commissioned season 20. There you go, exclusive now. Load of rubbish. Yeah,
Really?
I know. I have my feelers out, and I'm arrested for it regularly.
You put your feelings back where they belong.
Oh, I know. Don't you just love all these streamers who say, I know something. Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, you're just trying to get 10,000 votes by tea time. Yeah, end of. Somebody will see through it one day. So, yeah, that cartoon character does look interesting. Looking through blinds is always exciting. We've got... there's a Mavity issue. There's a Mavity gravity issue. Of course there is. We need that payoff. We need that to be sorted. Cartoon robots, I'm not really into them, I have to say. And there's Mrs. Flood.
Is it?
She's going to be the big bad, isn't she? The big bad all along was Mrs. Flood.
I hope so. I hope so, because she's had such a build-up. Now she's...
Yeah.
That's a mystery that I've really just said to myself, don't get excited about that one.
Look, it deserves a good payoff, because Mrs. Flood, as in Anita Dobson, is a really good actress. And she can do it. It's just... I think when the character was first introduced, he hadn't worked it out. Writers do that. I'm not criticizing that. And I always think that what RTD did with the 4 Knocks was almost genius. He didn't know what he was doing with the 4 Knocks plot line. And it was a beautiful thing to make it just an old geezer knocking on the cubicle before he was radiated. And I thought that worked really well. That was a good get out. But I really do hope Mrs. Flood, and she looks so good there. She really does look as though she's, Doctor Who, you need those arch villains. You do need somebody who knows more than the Doctor.
You really do. You really do. You need his equal.
Now, Lee Smith says she's not that good. Okay. I don't know, compared to what? I don't know what you mean.
Who, Mrs. Flood or Verada Sethu?
Oh, I'm not sure it'll be Verada Sethu. I think Lee is talking about Nita Dobson, because I was just kind of bigging her up. I'm full of hope.
Is her big claim the thing in the 80s with Dirty Den? I mean, that's...
Yeah, it was the big moment a long time ago, but she has acted since. I mean, it's not as if she's just been in a cupboard. She's... that people are spotting things in some of the shots, references, but yeah, you've got all your Mavity stuff there. So we'll have Armageddon again. The actress who won Strictly Come Dancing a year ago, she's deaf, but she has been in EastEnders, and she obviously can act. That looks nice and gritty. That looks, and she's supposed to be in a very terrifying episode. And here you've got Ruby saying, but the games are deadly. And you're thinking, I think we're going to get more gods, aren't we?
Yeah, a deadly game of catch.
A bit more scare, a bit more horror, a bit more tension, a bit more jeopardy.
Yeah, well, there you go, Dan. That's for you.
Yeah, front her up. Good go. That'll sell it to the normies.
Well, they did that with Wonder Woman, when she wasn't wearing her kind of superhero outfit. She had the glasses on and she was all frumped up, wasn't she, as some office secretary? Hasn't that a fetish for every lad?
Well, I say get those puppies out.
Oh, damn.
I know, there you go. So this is adult stream. Welcome to everyone. Yes, with Brian. Is Mrs. Flood related to Noah's RP? I mean, it's just we don't know if we care, do we? Lee Smith, Mavity, Smavity, who cares? Demorpin, Mavity has become more and more like nails on a chalkboard. He did say, and I've got it on one of my saloons, he did say in one interview, RTD, that you should always resolve the issues by the end of the season. You shouldn't tease fans into having to wait for a second season. And then he goes and does it with Mrs. Flood. And then he goes and does it with Susan, which is also unfinished material, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why you shouldn't listen to RTD.
Well, somebody will have to shut him up because he's more powerful than me, and and he does seem to have an awful lot of power on this program. So
the seasons are a lot shorter now, though. So I'm imagining that he wrote season 1 and 2 as season 1, and it was just cut off in the middle.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to join the dots. If you look at what those people are wearing, that looks like the style that we had with the Miami publicity shots, where you see Verada Sethu running out of an Art Nouveau kind of cinema in Miami.
Yeah, 1950s. Yeah.
So that looks very 1950s, the audience.
Yeah.
And so that is obviously, and then there's an explosion in that episode from the publicity shots. So, yeah, is this a kind of version of the Celestial Toy Maker Wheeze with the puppet?
Well, it's funny you say that because I got Gods of Ragnarok vibes from the image below from Greatest Show in the Galaxy.
Yeah.
You know, where they're eating the popcorn in the circus round. So I don't know why that hit me, but it might be complete red herring.
That's an interesting call, though. I get your point completely, because that circus was kind of empty, but with just a few strange people watching, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they were actually, the mother was holding, they were dressed like they were from the 50s, and the mother was holding a popcorn bucket just like that. So of course there's a link.
There's a link, and this is the Holby City casualty episode here. I've got on screen. So James, having not seen any shooty episodes, but now you've seen one, and now you've seen the trailer, was there anything in the trailer where it got your Doctor Who sensibilities going?
Unfortunately, not in a good way. Like I said, I'd already picked up on the Doctor not having like an iconic Doctor look, and now like in the next series he's got a new look for every episode again, so they've not addressed that issue. In fact, they've made it worse. The guest stars look pretty good. There's more of the TARDIS interior, which is an improvement. I do like the TARDIS interior. It's quite a lot like a classic one, but just done in a modern way. But yeah, all the different outfits. Instead of having a character that we're supposed to grow to understand and get close to, instead of that, we're just getting dress up.
Yeah.
Hey, is that Oshkosh by Gosh there with Shooty? Is that what he's wearing?
I think it might be.
Do you know what? I know they'll say they're not inventing loads of different costumes. What they're doing, because you can see from the animations there that the one in the bottom left from the Devil's Cord episodes, that pinstripe suit, it's a similar kind of pattern. And they'll probably just say, no, it's a bit like the Tom Baker one was adapted for Talons of Wen Cheyenne, etc. We just adapt for an episode, and that's what we've done for this one. I can see how they'll get themselves out of it. But I can take your point, James, because I just think too many looks, too many crop tops and all the rest of it. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, he doesn't have one look. He doesn't have an iconic Doctor look. I mean, imagine if you were in charge of making the toy. Not that it would sell these days, but imagine if you were in charge of making the toy. What would you make?
I know.
Do you know what? That's an interesting point, because what I've noticed is every single publicity photo and the toy actually they do the long leather coat, don't they? That's supposed to be his iconic look by somebody's decision, because every publicity photo, the character options toy, it's a long coat. So it's like someone wants it to be consistent, but obviously
it's just interesting.
If this episode was the first episode for a new Doctor, Like with the long red coat, I would have accepted that as his look, as I said at the beginning of the show. I mean, it's actually good, but it seems he's got a different outfit for every
Actually, was
show.
his look. He wore the same thing. Yeah, no, he wore the same thing in the Christmas special that introduced him, well, a variation of it, the coat, and that's how he was introduced.
Okay.
So for some reason, they've gone back to it, but they're not maintaining the consistency of it. It's very confusing.
Well, Crimpling, good to see you. I know you've been there. No wonder he stood on that landmine in Broome. Look at the size of his shoes. I mean, but you were talking about the out of all the looks, there was that kind of long brown kind of leather coat. But you can see from all these clips, they've obviously gone even wilder. And from the Church on Ruby Road, this look here, they've reversed. So the kilt in the Church on Ruby Road had the kind of Scottish kind of tartan look. I don't know. I mean, TARDIS Spider, good to see you. I hope you're well, and thanks for your Christmas greetings. Terry in America there, he loves to do the John Pertwee look. And if you look up Terry, he's got the gear, and he's also got the shooty one. He's got the shooty suit. But yeah, it needs a basic look. He says cosplay is good for show. It shows interest. I think we've had too much cosplay. I'm just breaking fourth wall, song and dance, schmaltzy music, nudge nudge wink wink. I just think, can we now have the thing that's been missing, which is an episode that scares the absolute hell out of a kid? Can we now have that?
Yes, please.
And when I saw this, the one that made me think that slightly, I mean, obviously that excites me because I'm a science fiction fan. Is it Scarrow? Is it not? It doesn't matter, but that looks
It's got freaking lasers. It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and I know how hard it is to do a laser when I did my Planet of the Spiders puppet parody. It's hard work. But yeah, so that excites me. Okay, robots and aliens. I'll buy into this if it works. That appeals, as me and Doug were saying. That really does appeal, the cartoon one. Yeah, and this Mavity thing, I tell you what, if we sorted out, I'd love it. But then, yeah.
Hopefully, it's a clue that the whole thing's an alternate universe.
Yes, and kills it.
That'd be great.
Then David Tennant comes back and just resets everything.
Now, Divine and Dragon, who's been with us all the time. No,
maybe not.
Sorry, Brendan.
Maybe not David Tennant. Maybe Matt Smith or Peter Capaldi.
Now he comes back, resets everything because remember David Tennant stuffed up the Mavity thing, so he's got to fix that. Bootstrap paradox, fix that, and then he gets killed, and then we get a new Doctor.
Yeah, now. If that is the Daleks, just for a second, if that is Scarrow, say, and that is the Dalek UFOs, then RTD will have fulfilled his deal, which is every Doctor has a Dalek episode, which Shooty was actually saying very early doors, wasn't he? And then maybe, one of the rumors is that maybe Shooty does actually leave at the end of season 2.
What I heard was that they've actually shot 2 endings, and they're either going to show the one where he leaves, or is going to regenerate, or the one where he wins, depending on how the show goes. I don't know how true that is, and I can't remember where I heard it from, but I certainly heard it.
It makes sense.
I certainly heard they've shot 2 endings.
Imagine if they, if DC say, "Look, we'll renew, but we want a Doctor change." So then Michael grade him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't wish that on any of our actors. I mean, poor Colin Baker, I hated what they did. And Sylvester McCoy was getting into his stride. But
at least we got Sylvester out of the deal.
Excuse me, what about Peter Capaldi?
No, I agree. Sorry, I didn't miss him out for any reason other than omission.
Well, didn't Sylvester say he was coming back?
He was being cheeky, wasn't he?
I know he was.
But yeah, I don't like. It's not in my bones to want somebody sacked or to want somebody pushed along. I don't like that. I'd love RTD just to like us. I'd like RTD just to settle down. But But as I try and say to people who say, why are you sometimes criticizing him more so now than I did a year ago? Well, because he seems to be wanting a fight. And what he's doing seems to be opposite to what I believe Doctor Who is. So I said in one of my streams ages ago, I either go quietly and just kind of give in passively, or I actually argue the toss on this little channel. And I just disagree more with many of the decisions than I did a year ago. And I think that's allowed. I'm not slagging. I never go personal. I've never been personal about RTD, Moffat, Shooty, or anybody. I don't like the execution of the program at the moment. So Dan, have I totally toxed it up? Is there anything? Are you looking forward to season 2, or do you think this is a slow dying of Doctor Who?
Look, I feel like I start every episode with a blank slate and hope for the best, but there's stuff that keeps happening that pulls me out of my stories lately, and I don't think the stories are that great, to be honest. Yeah, I don't. I'd like there to be some course correction in season 2. It bothers me that I'm seeing fan fiction out there and other things out on YouTube that actually excites me. And I'm thinking,
yeah,
how is it these guys can actually hit more of a mark with no resources?
Yeah.
And these guys have all the resources and can't even get close. It's just weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll ask both you lads as well, but Lee Smith here, surely a few episodes will be cool. I'm always the optimist, but I'm also getting a high dose of cynicism now, Lee, as we all are, because we're not stupid. We've seen what we've seen. It seems to me, whether it's the Disney influence, whether it's RTD in this new era, it just seems to me that they don't want Doctor Who to be scary. And so I'm not really going to get what I would call cool. I'm not going to get what I want from Doctor Who. I'll get the schmaltzy Doctor Who. I'll get the show-off Doctor Who. I'll get the humorous Doctor Who, the comedic Doctor Who, the dolly Doctor Who. But I don't think I'm going to get a scary Doctor Who, because as I said in a previous stream, I just wonder whether this concept of safe spaces, they daren't scare the kids anymore. Doug, what are you looking forward to if you are?
I don't know if I'm looking forward to it, but I'm going to stick with it till the end. It's about the first series. If they give me at least one good episode, one good story, I'll be happy. I would like to see some scares. I think that one with the cartoon character has some potential. I'd like to see a bit of a payoff with Mrs. Flood, just for my OCD. I need it to be completed. I'm a little bit concerned about any prospect of season 3, because based on the ratings of Christmas, that would tell me that we're going to be very lucky to get 2 million an episode. And I know they say ratings don't matter, but they really do. Particularly as it's generally been regarded that Disney is no longer going to back the show. It's never been officially said, but no one said the opposite. And unless they can find another partner, I don't know if Doctor Who will continue. And if they do, it needs to be with a brand new team, completely new team. And go with a lower budget, be creative.
It doesn't sound like the BBC have got the resources in-house to pull it off anymore. And
absolutely
what production house is going to be afforded the risk of allowing them to develop a Doctor Who? I think we got.
Yeah, I know.
If it's not Bad Wolf or Heartswood, I know there's been rumours of Heartswood potentially getting involved, but I don't know. I'm skeptical on all of that.
Yeah,
me too, unfortunately.
And as I asked James in a moment, I mean, I go back to this graph because all I can think of is Doctor Who flatlining? Well, it just seems to be nothing special compared to the two peaks there. Doctor Who was just like Strictly, just like EastEnders, just like Call the Midwife. It's not bringing anything to the party. It's getting that passive audience who will just sit and watch because it's BBC One tonight.
Exactly.
That's not where Doctor Who was. So forget the numbers. The numbers, you can't compare numbers because people are doing okay. I'm not comparing the numbers, but I'm still looking at the habits. And the habits are that Doctor Who's falling into, it's a bit of the wallpaper now. It's not special. It's just wallpaper. Now that's a slowly dying program, I would contest, because if it's not in the national consciousness, if it's not seen as special or distinctive, it will slowly either become wallpaper, and none of us want Doctor Who to be bland.
No.
And just limping on year after year, Doctor 27, Doctor 32. No. I mean, James...
I think it'll just quietly fade away. I think it'll just quietly fade away. It will go with a whimper, not a bang. The only way to fix it is somehow, somewhere, for someone to have the creativity to make it event television again, whether that's with casting a lead that people are wanting to see, or a creative team that can do something with a reasonably low budget. Because as you said, the soapies are done on a fraction of that budget and they're getting the same sort of ratings. So why would they even bother?
Yeah, and the question has to be, why did Wallace and Gromit, 15 minutes later, more than double the audience? 5 million added. And
because it wasn't pushing a message.
Well, there has to be a question on it. Or I would say, of course, being a Yorkshireman, it was the Yorkshire humour. But you know, there's something there's something in it that the shooty doctor, the diva doctor, was trounced by a clay animation. So what's going on there? Should we, I mean, obviously Wallace and Gromit was promising what they've always done. Great humor, great invention, great imagination, and an epic.
I think you just hit the nail on the head, actually, Brendan, because what Wallace and Gromit did do is exactly that, delivered to the fans what the fans wanted, what the fans asked for, which is the opposite of what's been happening. And I think you just hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what the reason was.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, we don't want to hit. We don't want to be right about this, but it just seems to be going that way.
No, I want to be wrong.
So, James, James, as I know you're not new to Doctor Who, but new to this era, has this all confirmed? Really, I know you said that it wasn't as bad as you thought in some ways, but you had probably heard horror stories. I'm assuming. So basically, I suppose your bar was low. But ultimately, is this now the show that you want to watch again? Now you've been forced to watch it by Muggins here?
No. But I think you've been a little bit harsh on yourself by calling yourself a cynic. I mean, pattern recognition is not cynicism.
Yeah, maybe you try and immunize yourself from criticism and trolls, because sometimes people only get one bit that you say and you think, no, okay, fair comments. I don't think I'm just being cynical, really. I try and evidence everything I do.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, really, in answer to your question, it's what we've been saying the whole show, really. They need fresh blood writing, because even though it's not an ITD episode, it's a Moffat episode. It's Moffat repeating Moffat, and injecting with RTD politics. It's just both of them need to go, and we need talented new writers. We don't even know if we need a new cast, because if the scripts are crap, it's going to be crap. Who knows? With the right script, Gatwa might actually be an excellent Doctor. We don't know.
And so we will leave that there. It's been an interesting detox. The Detoxers said they wanted to do this because we normally do things a slightly different way, but you all wanted to do this. So this was our verdict. I think we've been clear on where we stand. I've held back on still a lot of details. Simon Anthony says he wants detail and we don't kind of race over, but it's been a 2.5 hour show. I mean, you can't be indulgent and assume the audience are going to watch you for a marathon 24-hour discussion. That's not possible. At 6 p.m. No, at 6 p.m. tonight, Joy to the World, our full review. 6 panelists. They've all given me their marks and grades on whether this is true-hoo or boo-hoo, criteria 1, and whether it busts canon. Criteria 2 is the production values and whether the direction, the acting, the special effects were all used to good effect or not. Because you can have money and you can waste it. And then criteria 3, did it engage you and did the resolution satisfy? Burning issues as well, and the ratings watcher, when I have got that 5-minute breakdown, and I tell you what, it is a shocker. So please join us at 6 p.m. live when I'll go through this all again, but in a very different way, and I've got all the detail ready. It was a Merry Christmas, I think. So thank you, Doug, for joining us on it. You know, we do have the Christmas spirit, and it's just I don't.
You do.
It's just
You're not really a Grinch. I know you love Christmas.
And thank you as well, Dan. Thank you for giving us your time during Christmas. And James, I hope this was all right for your first time on the Sense for you.
Thank you for being you.
Oh yeah, it's really nice being on. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Brendan. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Doug. I've really enjoyed being here. Hopefully, you'd like to have me here as well.
Oh yeah, we don't say it's not a channel where you run once and then you somehow disappear. I mean, Matrix Lord is there. I try and get everybody on. I always do. It's just we're building a brilliant community of people, and nobody likes a panel of 22, do they? I mean, that's the only snag.
No.
Except if you lose a canon debate, that's why Dwayne's not here anymore.
No, so thank you, everybody. Join us again tonight at 6 p.m. and Merry Christmas still, yeah?
Merry Christmas. Hey, Dwayne says he likes Invisible Enemy again.
Join us at 6 for the